Chapter 97, North Peace Marquis Residence. Chapter 97, North Peace Marquis Residence. Have you heard? Just half an hour ago, something big happened at the city gate. What big matter? What else is there in Sky Dragon City? Who dares to cause trouble in Sky Dragon City? Isn't that courting death? A beast carriage barged into the city and killed a Tier 9 warrior spirit. The 20 or so martial kings from the Yang family were killed by a glacier that spanned tens of thousands of meters. All the martial kings were turned into pieces by the glacier. Yang Haozong, who was a peak Tier 9 martial king, was also killed by Changyang Tian with a single punch. That's impossible, right? He's that powerful. Unless he's a martial emperor or a martial grandmaster. Yang Haozong's flaming gold Changyang Heaven is known for its invincible defense. Even Wu Zong's might not be able to break through it. What a secret. The person inside this beast carriage is Li Lingtian from the Northern Marquis residence. Isn't Li Lingtian from the Northern Marquis residence just a young man? How could he kill a martial king? Moreover, the Yang family's power is like the sun at its zenith. How would the North Peace Marquis Fu dare to oppose the Yang family? One remember now. Some time ago, I heard that Sky Cloud sect produced a heaven-defying monster. Could it be this Li Lingtian? If that's the case, the Yang family and the North Peace Marquis will have a good show to watch. Zheng Lin drove the beast carriage into the city. He could not calm down at all. There was only a warrior spirit youth in the beast carriage. However, everything that he saw just now had completely exceeded his imagination. He had seen a battle between martial kings and martial grandmasters before, but none of them were as domineering as the youth in the beast carriage. They were all killed in one strike. Was he really a warrior spirit? Was he really just a teenager? This youth was the heir of the North Peace Marquis estate. He didn't expect the North Peace Marquis estate to be so low profile, to have such a heaven-defying genius and still be so patient. Very soon, he calmed down. Since he was following this prince, the stronger he was, the more secure he would be in the future. The master was strong, and the servant was also superior to others. Li Lingtian was resting in the beast carriage with his eyes closed. The incident earlier was just a small interlude. In this world, the strong were respected. As long as one had enough strength, their fists were the reason. If one's strength was not enough, today would be the day of his death. Life and death depended on the depth of one's strength. He had not returned for a few years, and there was no news of him. In the past, the Northern Marquis's residence was so glorious, but he had never thought that it would be suppressed to such a state. He would not let go of what he had to shoulder. Since he came to the North Peace Marquis estate, he was destined to turn Sky Dragon City upside down unless he died. What he had to do now was to quickly increase his cultivation and face all kinds of powerful challenges. North Peace Marquis Fu. The Northern Marquis's estate was located in the northern city, and the entire estate occupied a radius of several miles. To be able to have such a large estate in a place like the capital where every inch of land was worth every inch of gold, one could only imagine how extraordinary the status of the Marquis's estate was in the past. Emperor Tianlong of the Northern Marquis residence bestowed the title to Li Lingtian's grandfather, Li Chongyang. Li Lingtian's father, Li Suifeng, had even inherited the title of Northern Marquis due to his outstanding military achievements. In these few years, the Yang family had been very powerful and had been suppressing dissidents, and the Pingbei Marquis residence was the one that suppressed them the most. The current Pingbei Marquis's estate was not even comparable to a second-grade official of the imperial court. Although it was still the Pingbei Marquis estate and Pingbei Marquis, it did not have the slightest bit of power. On this day, Li Suifeng and his wife, Qin Susu, were resting in a pavilion in the courtyard. A few servants were waiting outside the pavilion. I wonder how Tian is doing. Susu misses Tian. Qin Susu was about 30 years old, but she looked like she was only 21 or 22 years old. One should know that Qin Susu was a rare beauty in Sky Dragon City. Even though she was 30 years old now, she was no different from a 21 or 22-year-old girl. Now that his son had left the marquisdom for 8 years, he had only seen him a few times along the way. In these 3 years, he had not seen him once. Mother and son's hearts were connected. Even though Pingbei Marquis Fu was suppressed, she only cared about her husband and son. In Sky Cloud sect, other than the Yang family, no one else would dare to touch him. It's just that I can't enter Sky Cloud sect, or else one can also look up to Tian. Li Suifeng's face was filled with a trace of desolation. The dignified Marquis of North Peace, who guarded the important place of the Sky Dragon Empire's military, the Thunderclap City, was thrown back by an imperial edict, and the Thunderclap City fell into the hands of the Yang family. He had been in the army all his life, but now he could only stay idle in the residence. It was more uncomfortable than killing him. Sky Dragon Empire and the 4 major sects had a rule that all the princes of Sky Dragon City had to enter the sect to cultivate. The sect was not allowed to interfere with the affairs of the imperial court, and the imperial court's officials were not allowed to enter the sect. As a result, many princes and heirs would not be able to see their relatives for years. It was no wonder that Qin Susu missed her son. Suifeng, the Sky Dragon Empire's once-in-a-decade genius competition should be starting soon. When the time comes, write a letter and ask Sky Cloud sect to bring Tian over. Qin Susu remembered that Sky Cloud sect would be participating in the Sky Dragon Empire genius competition. She could use her connections to bring the letter to her son. All right, I will pass on this matter. The Yang family is getting more and more arrogant. I will try my best not to participate in this competition. Li Suifeng was worried that the Yang family's disciples would deal with Li Lingtian in Sky Cloud sect. However, he did not dare to say it out loud as it would only make his wife more worried. Lord Marquis, Lord Marquis. At this moment, a servant ran in with a surprised expression on his face. He was out of breath from running. What's the matter? Why are you so flustered? Li Suifeng saw that the head chief of the Marquisdom, Li Chengyuan, had lost his composure, and a trace of unhappiness flashed across his face. Li Chengyuan was known for his calmness. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been promoted to the chief steward of the Marquis mansion. This Li Chengyuan had been in the Marquis mansion for several generations and was loyal. This subordinate greets Lord Marquis and Madam. Young master is back. Li Chengyuan calmed down for a moment and said excitedly. He was just doing some work outside when he saw a beast carriage coming to the entrance of the Marquis's mansion. A white-robed youth walked out from inside and was stunned. How could he not recognize the young man in white? He was the young master that the Marquis and Madam missed. He had been in the Marquis residence since he was young and watched Li Lingtian grow up. Now that the young master had grown up and returned, how could he not be excited? In the past few years, the young master of the Marquis mansion had become even more elegant. He looked exactly like his wife, Qin Susu. He had lost a part of his daughter's coquettishness and gained a part of his man's sunshine. After greeting Li Lingtian, he jogged to the pavilion in the courtyard to report the good news to the Marquis' wife. If the Marquis and his wife were to learn of this news, they would definitely be overjoyed. Tian is back. Tian is back. Father, young master has really returned. The 3 voices sounded at the same time. Li Suifeng and Qin Susu were pleasantly surprised. The other person was the only servant in the pavilion. She was very beautiful. This was Li Lingtian's former handmaiden, Li Xiaoxiao. The 2 of them spent the most time together and had the best relationship. However, they did not meet again after Li Lingtian went to Sky Cloud sect. Without needing Li Chengyuan to answer, everyone had already gotten the answer. On the bluestone path in the courtyard, a young man in white walked over at a moderate speed. His entire body and the surrounding flowers and trees formed a landscape, elegant and graceful. Chapter 98, Chapter 98, Xiao Xiao, 1. Chapter 98, Xiao Xiao, 1. Tian greets father. Greetings, mother. Li Lingtian arrived at the pavilion in the courtyard and bowed respectfully to the middle-aged man before him and the woman beside him. Although he was from the 21st century in his previous life, this place was also his home. With the fusion of their souls, everything here was his. In his memory, everything here was very familiar. His father, Li Suifeng, his mother, Qin Susu, and his little handmaiden, Li Xiaoxiao. Tian, I missed you so much. Qin Susu's tears fell. The son she had been thinking about day and night was finally back. She reached out and hugged Li Lingtian. 8 years had passed. He was still a child when she left her, but now he had become a dashing and elegant youth. Li Lingtian felt a surge of warmth in his heart. As an orphan in his past life, he had never experienced a father's or mother's love. However, in this life, he had a mother's or father's love. His eyes were misty. Although the woman in front of him was a peerless beauty, his heart was filled with warmth when he was hugged so intimately because this woman was his mother. There was no blood relation, but there was a mother-son relationship in their souls. After a long time, Qin Susu finally let go of Li Lingtian. However, she continued to hold Li Lingtian's hand as she sized him up carefully. Li Suifeng and the other servants were also looking at Li Lingtian and Qin Susu. My Tian-er has grown up. Qin Susu smiled. Her son looked exactly the same as her. They were like the same mold, elegant and confident. Xiao Xiao greets young master. Li Xiao Xiao bowed and said in a soft voice. Then, her face turned red. This subordinate greets young master. The rest of the servants bowed respectfully to Li Lingtian. In the marquisdom, Li Suifeng spent most of his time guarding Thunderclap City. Qin Susu did not treat these servants as servants at all. In their hearts, Qin Susu was the best master. Moreover, Qin Susu's family was one of the top 10 families in Sky Dragon Empire. Their powerful items were not much inferior to Sky Cloud sect. You and your son look like siblings, Li Suifeng said with a smile. In his heart, the most important things were his wife and son. Following that, Li Lingtian felt a headache coming on. Qin Susu kept asking him questions about his cultivation life in Sky Cloud sect, and Li Lingtian answered them one by one. But even so, he was not impatient at all. This was because his mother cared about him. The more she cared about him, the warmer his heart felt. Li Xiaoxiao was quietly observing Li Lingtian from the side while Li Chengyuan instructed his servants to prepare a banquet to welcome Li Lingtian. Li Xiaoxiao and Qin Susu's laughter could be heard from the pavilion in the courtyard. It had been a long time since the marquisdom last had such laughter. Li Lingtian's return put Qin Susu in a good mood. Lord Marquis, Madam, there are rumors that young master has returned. Young master has killed 24 patrol members of the Yang family and the Marshal King and Marshal King families. Captain Yang Haozong was also killed by young master. It's over. An old man in grey appeared outside the pavilion and bowed respectfully to Li Suifeng and Qin Susu. He quickly told them about the rumors outside. However, he paused at the end because there was a white-robed youth in the pavilion. Wasn't this the young master of the Marquis's manor? Rumors had it that his young master had returned and killed a Marshal King outside the city gates. Now, his master was already in the Marquis manor. What is it? There are such rumors. Boring, simply boring. My Tian-er is only 16 years old. How could she kill a Marshal King? Yang Haozong is a peak tier 9 Marshal King. Even I might not be able to kill him. Li Suifeng's face was filled with anger. The rumors outside were too untrustworthy. His son had just returned, yet he was already spreading such rumors. Wasn't this pushing Li Lingtian into the limelight? He's just a Marshal King. There's no need to make a fuss. At that moment, Li Lingtian, who had been talking to Qin Susu, opened his mouth. He looked at the elder in grey. He had seen this elder before. He was one of his father's experts. Li Suifeng and the grey-robed elder were stunned by his words. Everyone looked at Li Lingtian in confusion. What did he mean by a mere Marshal King? 24 Marshal Kings and a peak rank 9 Marshal King were killed. Was he making a fuss over nothing? They would not be surprised if a top martial arts grandmaster had killed 24 tier 3 Marshal Kings and 1 tier 9 Marshal King. However, it would be a huge joke if they said that the young master of the marquisdom had killed all these people. As everyone knew, the young master of the northern Marquis residence, Li Lingtian, was only 16 years old. No matter how powerful he was only a warrior. How could he kill a Marshal King? Tian-er, is that true? Li Suifeng was the Marquis of North Peace and had fought countless battles. He could tell something from Li Lingtian's words, but he could not believe it. The elderly man in grey, Qin Susu, and all the servants were looking at Li Lingtian, waiting for his answer. This is true. The Yang family is too ignorant. We should suppress them. Li Lingtian's expression was calm, as if he was talking about something that had nothing to do with him. Hearing this, everyone was speechless. A youth actually said that the Yang family was ignorant and wanted to suppress the Yang family. If it was a Wu Zong who said this, they could still accept it. However, this sentence came from the mouth of a 16-year-old youth. It became a little strange. You killed 24 rank 3 martial kings and even Yang Haozong? Li Suifeng looked excited. This was too shocking. His son was able to kill a warrior king, which meant that his cultivation was not a warrior king. However, after scanning with his divine perception, Li Lingtian's cultivation was only a Tier 9 warrior spirit. Tier 9 warrior spirit? His son had reached Tier 9 warrior spirit at the age of 16. Ever since Li Lingtian's return, he had not checked Li Lingtian's cultivation level. In his opinion, no matter how talented his son was, he was only a warrior. He did not expect his son to have reached Tier 9 warrior spirit. A Tier 9 warrior spirit killed a martial king and Yang Haozong. Everyone was shocked. Although their cultivation levels were not high, in this world where the strong were respected, they naturally understood the difference in cultivation levels. Rumor has it that a Tier 9 warrior spirit Yang Xin's attack was blocked by a faint halo and turned into ashes by an invisible force. 24 Tier 3 warrior kings were turned into ice sculptures by a glacier and shattered by the glacier. Yang Haozong, a peak Tier 9 martial king, used the flaming gold Changyang Heaven. He was crippled by a single punch. From the beginning to the end, no one saw who was inside the beast carriage. They only managed to find out about young master's background from the token and the person who spoke inside the beast carriage. In his shock, the elderly man in grey told everyone about the rumors outside. Apart from Li Lingtian, everyone in the courtyard was beyond shocked. Young master, you killed so many martial kings without showing up. You're so cool. Li Xiao said happily, imagining the situation at that time. The beast carriage was running, ignoring the attacks of the experts, and the experts were turned into ashes by the attacks from the beast carriage. How cool was that? Chapter 99, The Yang Family. Chapter 99, The Yang Family. Tian how did you do it? With your cultivation, you could only use a profound armament at most. Even if you did, you wouldn't be a match for a martial king. How could you kill a martial king? Li Suifeng's words were what everyone was most curious about. How did a young man like Li Lingtian kill a warrior king? Father, Tian'er has activated her ice and fire martial souls and mastered 2 earth-ranked skills. Naturally, she can kill a martial king. I came back this time to participate in the Sky Dragon Empire competition as Sky Cloud Sect's #1 expert. Li Lingtian replied calmly. He had nothing to hide from his parents. Other than a few mysterious and heaven-defying cultivation techniques and his own origins, he would not hide anything else. Besides, it would not be long before everyone in Sky Dragon City would recognize him. After he finished speaking, his divine sense moved, and a jade token appeared in front of him, finally landing in Li Suifeng's hand. Sky Cloud Sect's #1 expert. To participate in the Sky Dragon Empire Genius Competition? Ice and Fire Martial Souls? An Earth-ranked skill? This is Sky Cloud Sect's Sky Cloud token. How is this possible? Only the Sky Cloud Pavilion Master has a Sky Cloud token. How did this Sky Cloud token end up in your hands? When Li Suifeng heard Li Lingtian's words, he was instantly struck dumb. Any one of these things could shock the world. He did not expect that his son would be involved in these shocking events. Finally, he saw the jade token in his hand. He had never seen this jade token before, but the words Tianyu Order were written on it. He still knew what was going on. The Tianyu token was the most extraordinary token in Sky Cloud Sect other than the Sect Master. As long as it didn't go against Sky Cloud Sect, even the Sect Master couldn't restrain the owner of this token. Tian'er is the Sky Pavilion Master. Li Lingtian replied calmly. After experiencing so many things, he felt that these things were very normal. It was just like how some poor people were shocked when they saw hundreds of thousands of yuan. However, in front of a millionaire who had tens of millions or hundreds of millions of yuan, this shock was already a common occurrence. If they knew that he had extorted all the geniuses in Eastern Spirit Azure continent, if they knew that he had fought against the martial emperor's wind demon, he didn't know how shocked he would be. Damn it, you brat, you hid it so well that you even dared to hide it from me. After a long time, Li Suifeng calmed down and punched Li Lingtian with an excited expression. Sure. The punch looked ferocious, but as a Tier 9 peak warrior king, he knew what to do. His son was able to kill a warrior king, become the Tianyu Pavilion Master, and become Sky Cloud Sect's #1 powerhouse in the inner sanctum. Naturally, he was not weak. This punch could also be used to test Li Lingtian's cultivation base. However, who would have thought that the punch that hit Li Lingtian would be like hitting cotton, negated by a faint defensive barrier? The elderly man in grey, Qin Susu, and the other servants were jolted awake. They had a new understanding of Li Lingtian. Qin Susu was extremely happy. No matter if her son was trash or genius, he would always be her son. A woman who only cared about two men, her husband and her son. Her husband was Marquis Pingbei, and her son was the #1 genius disciple of Sky Cloud Sect. How could she not feel happy? The young family is courting death. They killed a few useless people. With me around, they won't dare to do anything. Li Suifeng immediately thought of the young family's anger and felt excited in his heart. However, at the same time, he also thought of the young family's revenge. Although he had no power now, with his status, he would not let his son be threatened. Father, Tian will handle this matter personally. It's just a young family. In the future, if anyone dares to provoke a single person from my northern Marquis estate, I will exterminate their entire family. If they kill a single person from my northern Marquis estate, I will exterminate their entire empire. Li Lingtian spoke in a serious tone. His entire body exuded an aura of disdain that did not match his age. He adhered to a principle that he wouldn't offend others unless they offended him. If others offended him, he would definitely offend them. All right, you've grown up. Just be careful in the future. Li Suifeng looked at his son's imposing manner and his face revealed a gratified expression. This was his son, a good man who could support the heavens and the earth. Following that, everyone in Pingbei Marquis residence welcomed Li Lingtian. The young master who had left Pingbei Marquis residence for 8 years had returned. The 300 servants and 300 elite guards of the North Marquis residence bowed and paid their respects to Li Lingtian. The rumors were spreading like wildfire outside and everyone believed the rumors since their young master had returned. Naturally, they were extremely happy to have such an overbearing master, especially the guards and experts. They all admired him very much. They did not dare to underestimate this young master. This young master could easily kill a 9th-level martial king expert with a flip of his hand. The meal took 2 hours before Li Lingtian finally returned to his old courtyard to rest. Li Xiaoxiao was his maid since she was young, so it was only natural for her to serve him at this time. Li Suifeng passed down the order that everything in the Pingbei Marquis estate was not to be leaked. But in the Yang family, it was a huge mess. The city guards were all from the Yang family, but 24 3rd-level martial kings were killed. Yang Haozong was a peak 9th-level martial king, and he was the most promising genius to become a martial grandmaster in the past 2 years. He was still killed by the most inconspicuous young master of the Northern Marquis residence, Li Lingtian. Although they did not see Li Lingtian's appearance, Li Lingtian's token was not fake at all. Damn it, it's too damn. Yang Qingtian was extremely furious. The aura of a martial grandmaster burst out from his entire body. As the patriarch of the Yang family, more than 20 martial kings under him had actually been killed. This face was slapped so loudly that the people outside did not know what the rumors were. Family head, we'll have to ask the emperor for this. We'll use the emperor's authority to suppress the Northern Marquis residence and force him to hand over Li Lingtian. Yang Ju's face revealed a solemn expression. He then thought of something. Since he had killed the patrol team at the city gates, He could use the laws of the empire to oppress the northern Marquis residents. You go and prepare. Also, don't offend those people over there. If you offend them, our Yang family will not be robbed again. Yang Qingtian pondered for a moment. Now that a major event was imminent, he couldn't act rashly. A mere Pingbei Marquis residence, as long as the major event was accomplished, he could easily wipe out Pingbei Marquis residence. Not only the Yang family, but the other major forces in the Sky Dragon Empire had also received the news. Li Lingtian, the young master of the North Marquis residence, had returned in a mighty manner and killed 24 martial kings from the Yang family, as well as the Tier 9 martial king Yang Haozong. Li Lingtian gradually entered the attention of these major forces. Many people had already compared Li Lingtian to the 6 great young masters of Sky Dragon Empire. The 6 great young masters were all martial ancestor-level existences. These people were all below the age of 30. The top geniuses of a sect and family were regarded as the successors of the family and sect. Chapter 100 Chapter 10 Raising the Guards Cultivation. Chapter 10 Raising the Guards Cultivation. The most talked about person in the entire Sky Dragon City was resting in the courtyard. The maid beside him was gently massaging his shoulders with a look of enjoyment on her face. Xiao Xiao, a little to the left. Li Lingtian was lying on a cool chair, moaning comfortably as he munched on fruits. From time to time, he would call out to Li Xiaoxiao to move to the left or right. The fruits he ate were not ordinary fruits. These were spirit fruits that he had picked on Hidden Dragon Island. Any one of them was at least 10 years old. He would eat the 10-year-old spiritual fruits as if they were fruits because there were a lot of spiritual fruits in his divine dragon ring that were more than 100 years old, not to mention the 10-year-old spiritual fruits. She was with Tang Zimeng. Although she was his fiancée and they were childhood sweethearts, there were still differences between men and women when they grew up. It was already amazing if they were a little intimate. However, Li Xiaoxiao was his maid since he was young. Li Xiaoxiao was 1 year older than him, and they had been together for a longer time. Naturally, he had no qualms. Young master, tell me about how you extorted those genius disciples on Hidden Dragon Island. Xiao Xiao loves it when you extorted them. Li Xiaoxiao's family had followed the Li family for several generations. In the beginning, they did not have the surname Li. In the end, Li Chongyang bestowed the surname Li to Li Xiaoxiao's family. This was also to raise their status in the North Pinghu estate. When Li Lingtian first came back, she was still a little restrained. Although they used to be together every day, Li Lingtian had left for a few years and the drastic changes had made her feel a little distant. Moreover, the two of them were not children anymore. They were teenagers and girls. Naturally, they felt reserved. However, after less than a day, they did not feel so restrained. Qin Susu had asked about the Hidden Dragon Island out of curiosity. They were only shocked by Li Lingtian's experience and were now numb to it. Li Lingtian closed his eyes slightly and enjoyed Li Xiaoxiao's jade-like hands as he told Li Xiaoxiao about the Hidden Dragon Island. Eat more of this spirit fruit. It's very beneficial to your skin and can also increase your cultivation. After you're done eating, just come and get it. I'll cultivate first. Li Lingtian opened his eyes and handed a storage pouch to Li Xiaoxiao before heading to his room. As for his own items, other than a few top-notch treasures and important items, he didn't care about anything else. After all, it was just left there. Giving it to his people to use was also its value. Thank you, young master. Li Xiaoxiao said happily. How could the fruits outside be as good as the spiritual fruits from Hidden Dragon Island? A spiritual fruit like this would cost at least a few hundred spirit stones if sold. Moreover, there was always a demand but no supply. Li Lingtian had given quite a number of spirit fruits to the servants and guards of Marquis Pingbei's residence, thus raising their cohesion to the peak. As Li Lingtian's maidservant, she naturally had the advantage. Li Lingtian was cultivating various skills and techniques in his room. During his break, he would chat with Qin Susu and Li Xiaoxiao. Both of them enjoyed listening to Li Lingtian's experiences outside. Although they were all thrilling but not dangerous, the two of them were still trembling in fear. 5 days had passed since he returned to the Pingbei Marquis residence. There were more rumors about the young master of the Pingbei Marquis residence, Li Lingtian, and the rumors made him seem like a god. Over the past few days, Marquis Pingbei's residence had been constantly surprised because Li Lingtian had refined quite a number of peerless pills. Although they were all Tier 1 and Tier 2 pills, they were peerless pills that could not be refined even in legends. Many guards and servants had obtained pills to increase their cultivation. For these guards and servants, being able to obtain peerless pills was definitely a memorable value. He had a heaven-defying, monstrous master, and this master was approachable. More importantly, this master was also an alchemist who refined peerless pills at the age of 16. On this day, Li Lingtian was giving guidance to some guards in the courtyard while Li Suifeng and the others watched from the side. They were shocked that Li Lingtian was able to solve any guard's cultivation problem with ease. In terms of martial arts cultivation, Li Lingtian dared to say that he was second, but no one dared to say that he was first. This was because he cultivated the heaven and earth reincarnation technique and the true dragon's body barrier. He possessed the wisdom of the 21st century and possessed the soul of the Nine-Yang Saint Lord. With the three of them combined, who could match him? The few of you have already reached rank 8 Martial King. This fruit is for you. It will help you reach rank 9 Martial King. After Li Lingtian finished his instructions, he saw the 4 Tier 8 Warrior King guards. He pondered for a moment before he took out 4,000-year purple jade fruits. One fruit can help me advance to rank 9 Martial King? Is young master joking? Is there really such a thing? All the guards were shocked by Li Lingtian's words. Even Li Suifeng and the rest could not believe it. Li Lingtian was a heaven-defying monster and an alchemist. Even an alchemist could not possibly advance from Tier 8 to Tier 9 Warrior King with just a fruit. Take a look at this and you will believe me. Li Lingtian extended his hand and 4 fist-sized fruits appeared. The fruits were purple in color and emitted a dense spirit chi. The entire courtyard's warriors were instantly energized. 1,000-year purple jade fruit. Shocked, it was still shocking. It was rare for Li Lingtian to bring out some spirit fruits, but he did not expect to bring out a 1,000-year-old spirit fruit. This spirit fruit could indeed increase the cultivation of a martial king. It was no wonder Li Lingtian was so confident. This fruit could ignore the martial king realm and directly increase the cultivation of a martial king realm. Don't be envious. Whoever reaches rank 8 martial king first will get this fruit. But you have to work hard. I don't have many of these fruits with me. A faint smile appeared on Li Lingtian's face as he tossed the 4 fruits into the hands of the 4 Tier 8 Warrior King guards. As for the rest of the warriors, Li Lingtian distributed some of the peerless spirit binding pills to them. He did not have much time to refine elixirs now, but if he had the time, he could research the Tier 3 Void Spirit pills. After refining the 3rd grade Void Spirit pill, his cultivation would also increase rapidly. Moreover, the cultivation of the others would also increase rapidly. Young master's great kindness is something that this subordinate will never be able to repay. In the future, if young master says the word, this subordinate will go through fire and water without hesitation. The 4 Tier 8 Warrior Kings and the other guards bowed respectfully to show their loyalty. A master like him would one day rule over Eastern Spirit Greenland. If they chose to stand by Li Lingtian's side now, they would reap endless benefits in the future. If he became famous, even if he wanted to be his slave, he would not be qualified. After that, he used his divine perception to explore the divine dragon ring for a while. With a wave of his hand, each of them received a spirit weapon. Warrior spirit guards were either superior grade or peerless grade spirit weapons, while warrior kings were profound weapons. Martial King level 8 and level 9 were supreme grade profound armaments. In the last battle in the Endless Sea, 47 martial arts grandmasters had died, and supreme grade and upper grade profound armaments had fallen into his hands. He couldn't use it all, so he gave it to these guards to buy their hearts and increase the strength of his subordinates. This could be considered an investment, Chapter 101 Chapter 101 Sky Cloud Sect arrives. Chapter 101 Sky Cloud Sect arrives. Seeing Li Lingtian's extravagant spending of spirit fruits, pills, and profound and spiritual weapons, Who else could withstand his attacks? At this moment, the head chief of the Marquis residence, Li Chengyuan, walked in. After bowing respectfully to Li Suifeng, he said softly, "Lord Marquis, Sky Cloud Sect has come to the Lord Manor." Sky Cloud Sect. Li Suifeng was taken aback. Sky Cloud Sect was one of the 4 great super sects and would not normally visit the residence of an imperial court official. However, he immediately thought of Li Lingtian, and it was probably because of him. "Invite them in." Naturally, Li Lingtian heard Li Chengyuan's words. He did not speak but maintained a smile on his face. He must have understood the reason behind Sky Cloud Sect's visit to the Marquisdom. In other places, Sky Cloud Sect would be welcomed by people wherever they went. They must have come to the Marquis residence because of him. A moment later, a series of footsteps sounded. A dozen martial artists arrived at the courtyard. "Liu Nantian of Sky Cloud Sect is here to visit you. Please forgive me for coming here rashly." Li Suifeng was surprised that Liu Nantian greeted him as soon as he arrived at the entrance of the courtyard. Sky Cloud Sect had a high status. He was a marquis, but he was nothing in front of a colossus like Sky Cloud Sect. Now, even if it was for Li Lingtian's sake, he would not stand on ceremony. It seemed that his son's status in Sky Cloud Sect was not ordinary. "Haha, it's my lord's manor's honor to have you here." Li Suifeng quickly returned the greeting. These people were being polite because of Li Lingtian. If he did not know his place, he would be the one looking for trouble. "Greetings, Lord Marquis." The dozen or so martial artists behind him greeted Li Suifeng. Those who came to participate in the Sky Dragon Empire's competition this time were all martial artists above the Martial King realm. However, these people were all below the age of 50. Li Lingtian glanced at them and found that the lowest among them was a Tier 4 warrior king. There were even a few martial arts grandmasters. He also understood the rules of Sky Dragon Empire's genius competition. Anyone below the age of 50 could participate, regardless of whether they were warrior spirits, warrior kings, or martial grandmasters. This competition was to compete for the rankings of the prodigy role. Anyone below the age of 50 who entered the top 10 would be able to enter the prodigy role. On the prodigy role, every single one of them was a super genius. Compared to the Hidden Dragon Island, they were many times stronger. Although there were many geniuses gathered last time, their ultimate goal was to train and take risks. The sects and empires would not let the true super geniuses take risks. The purpose of the Sky Dragon Empire competition this time was to see how powerful the true geniuses of Sky Dragon Empire were and whether they had improved. Li Suifeng led the crowd to the main hall to receive the Sky Cloud Sect's experts. In the past, these genius disciples had their noses up in the air and did not even bother to greet the Marquis of the Imperial Court. However, things were different now. Li Lingtian from the North Marquis residence was Sky Cloud Sect's #1 genius disciple. He had ice and fire dual martial souls and could kill a martial arts grandmaster powerhouse at the warrior spirit realm. Furthermore, the news that Li Lingtian had killed 24 Tier 3 warrior kings and crippled a peak Tier 9 warrior king in one move had spread all over Sky Dragon City. Furthermore, Li Lingtian had not shown himself or used his weapon. With such strength, who would dare to provoke him? It was fine if they did not try to curry favor with Li Lingtian, but they should not offend him. In the hall, Li Suifeng was chatting with a few martial arts grandmasters while the other martial kings were sizing up Li Lingtian. It was their first time seeing this Sky Cloud Sect's rising disciple. It was the same for Li Lingtian. Li Lingtian had never seen these people in his years in Sky Cloud Sect. The most powerful person he had seen was sect leader Ling Tianfeng, who was a martial arts grandmaster. This time, Sky Cloud Sect has come to the capital for a competition. The Sky Cloud Pavilion Master is the Marquis's son and also a disciple of Sky Cloud Sect. "I'll have to disturb the Marquis in the future," Liu Nantian said with a smile. It would be more convenient to stay at the Marquisdom than anywhere else. At least there was Li Lingtian at the Marquisdom. "Don't say that. Everyone here is Ling Tian's fellow disciple, so you can do whatever you want in the Marquisdom," Li Suifeng said in a tone that was neither humble nor respectful. He was only a rank 9 martial king, but he was the marquis of a country and a hero who had fought on the battlefield. After witnessing his son's abilities these few days, he had the courage to speak. "It's better to meet than to hear. I heard that Sky Cloud sect has produced a heaven-defying talent, and after meeting him today, Ling Tian is indeed extraordinary." Luo Yunping looked at Li Lingtian as he spoke loudly. Initially, only Tier 4 martial kings were allowed to participate in the Sky Dragon Empire Genius Tournament. However, the sect had only arranged for 9 people to compete. After some inquiries, he found out that one of the disciples had left the sect for Sky Dragon City. However, they did not expect that the disciple participating in the competition was only a 15-year-old youth. No matter how powerful a 15-year-old youth was, he was only a warrior spirit. In front of countless martial kings and martial grandmasters, wasn't this a waste of a spot? They only accepted the arrangement after they learned about Li Lingtian's background and experience. They were shocked to learn of Li Lingtian's methods after arriving at Sky Dragon City. Now, the young man before him had a calm expression on his face. He was a Tier 9 warrior spirit. If he could not see through his true strength, he would not believe that a Tier 9 warrior spirit could be so powerful. "Senior brother Luo, you flatter me." Li Lingtian smiled faintly. He did not know much about Luo Yunping, but a Tier 1 martial arts grandmaster's cultivation was indeed profound. However, it was not hard to tell from his tone that Luo Yunping had a trace of hostility towards him. In the past, if someone dared to speak to him like this, he would definitely kill them. However, it was different now because he understood one thing. No matter what, he would not be angry at something or someone that was not worth it. A martial arts grandmaster was indeed powerful, but with his methods, a first-stage martial arts grandmaster was simply not enough. It was his principle that a giant dragon would not make an enemy of an ant. Cultivating the true dragon body protection and tempering his body with dragon energy had also improved his mental state quite a bit. In the end, Liu Nantian and the others were arranged to stay in the Marquis Mansion and wait for the Sky Dragon Empire competition in a month. In Sky Dragon City, there were more and more martial artists. All kinds of martial artist gatherings were also common. Although it was a competition of geniuses, where there were martial artists gathered, there were business opportunities. Some low-level martial artists would naturally come here to make a fortune. It could be said that Sky Dragon City was overcrowded. Warrior spirits crawled all over the ground, martial kings walked all over the ground, and martial grandmasters flew all over the sky. Li Lingtian had also adapted to life in the Marquisdom. He meditated at night to cultivate the heaven and earth reincarnation technique and comprehend some pill formulas and skills while Li Xiaoxiao followed him around during the day. Although she was a maid, Li Xiaoxiao was a beauty. With such a beauty serving her, what else could she not be satisfied with? In his spare time, he would refine some pills to reward the guards and servants. In an instant, the person everyone wanted to see the most in the Marquisdom was Li Lingtian. Perhaps Li Lingtian would refine some elixirs for them when he was in a good mood. The elixirs refined by Li Lingtian were peerless, Chapter 102, Chapter 102, Heavenly Dragon Imperial Palace. Chapter 102, Heavenly Dragon Imperial Palace. On this day, Li Lingtian was cultivating when an imperial edict from the palace came from outside, summoning Li Lingtian and Li Suifeng for an audience. Although the Marquisdom was huge, with his divine sense, the entire Marquisdom was under his divine sense. Every move of the Marquisdom was within his line of sight. Upon receiving the imperial edict, Li Lingtian and Li Suifeng looked at each other and smiled. Naturally, they knew that nothing good would come out of this meeting. They could not avoid what was meant to come. The two of them tidied up their clothes and took the Marquis's Manners beast carriage to the imperial palace. Sky Dragon Great City was indeed the largest city in Sky Dragon Empire. The entire city was 6,000 square kilometers, and the Marquisdom was more than 300 miles away from the imperial palace. Even if they were to travel by beast carriage, it would still take them an hour. The imperial palace. Looking at the imperial palace in front of him, it was no different from the imperial palace of the Tang dynasty that he had seen on television in his previous life. It was majestic and imposing. Countless patrolling guards and palace maids shuttled back and forth. When the two of them arrived at the main entrance of the palace, they were stopped by the palace guards. "So it's Lord Marquis." This subordinate greets Lord Marquis. These guards were all martial king realm experts. When they saw Li Suifeng, their faces revealed a respectful expression. Li Suifeng was born in the battlefield and had deep strength. "Why is Vice Commander Zhong patrolling today?" Li Suifeng smiled faintly. The two of them were quite familiar with each other, and these were just normal greetings. The safety of the palace is the top priority for the Sky Dragon Empire's once-in-a-decade competition. "I dare not be careless." Zhong Lingfeng, the deputy commander of the guards, cupped his fists and bowed. After that, Li Suifeng and Li Suifeng exchanged a few words before leading Li Lingtian into the palace. This young man must be Li Lingtian, the one who killed the 24 martial king powerhouses from the Yang family some time ago. Indeed, heroes come from the young. He's so powerful at such a young age. One believe that with enough time, he'll definitely become the 7th young master of Sky Dragon Empire. The Northern Marquis's residents has hidden themselves well, they didn't even resist being suppressed like this. The appearance of this prince, his methods were swift and decisive, killing the Yang family's experts. But now that Marquis Pingbei and the prince have entered the palace, it should be the Yang family's doing. After Li Lingtian and his wife left, some of the guards whispered among themselves. The strong were respected. In front of the strong, there was no age difference. Age did not matter if one was ambitious. Li Lingtian could not help but feel excited upon entering the palace. He had only watched it on television in his previous life, but he did not expect to actually enter the palace this time. This palace was many times worse than the one in his previous life. Many people who knew Li Suifeng came forward to greet him. Although they were greeting him, they were also very careful because the Pingbei Marquis estate was gradually declining. Heavenly Dragon Palace. All the officials and emperors were gathered in the conference hall of the Sky Dragon Empire's imperial palace. The Sky Dragon Palace Hall represented the top existence of the Sky Dragon Empire. In front of the hall, hundreds of guards stood majestically. Each guard was a martial king and had profound strength. Such a lineup could only be seen in the imperial palace. I, the Marquis of North Peace, greet you. 1-1, Li Lingtian, the heir of the North Peace Marquis residence, pay my respect. A sharp voice was heard. It immediately reminded Li Lingtian of the eunuchs in the palace in his previous life. The voice came in waves. Li Suifeng tidied his clothes and makeup before he headed to the main hall. Li Lingtian followed behind him at a moderate pace. He completely ignored the martial king realm guards on both sides. Looking around, he didn't look like the other disciples who had entered the palace for the first time. Instead, it was as if he had entered his own backyard. I, Li Suifeng, pay my respects to the emperor. Greetings, your majesty. Your humble servant Li Lingtian greets your majesty. Li Suifeng bowed respectfully to the middle-aged man on the throne. All of the officials looked down, completely ignoring Li Suifeng's arrival. However, when it was Li Lingtian's turn to pay his respects to the Heavenly Dragon Emperor, all the courtiers were stunned. Immediately, a gloating expression appeared on their faces. As a Marquis Pingbei had to bow to the emperor even if he had outstanding military achievements. Furthermore, Li Lingtian was only the heir of the Marquis residence. Yet, he merely cupped his fists and greeted him as if he was greeting his peers. On the throne, Nangong Haoming's expression changed. This prince of Pingbei was too rude and looked down on the royal authority. The whole world is the land of the king, and the shores of the land are the subjects of the king. He had always been high and mighty, respected by tens of thousands of people. Now, he was actually being rude by a youth. However, as an emperor, he had the demeanor of an emperor. Naturally, he would not speak up for such matters. If he did not speak up, there would naturally be people who would stand up and cause trouble. Marquis Pingbei, the good son you raised dares to look down on the sovereign. Li Lingtian, as a citizen of the empire, you've lost all manners. How can this be? Don't you have any respect for the ruler and the law? The Crown Prince's Grand Tutor Zhon Taiyang stepped forward and righteously criticized Li Lingtian and his son. Instantly, the other censors stood on Zhon Taiyan's side. When did this young master look down on the ruler? When did I lose my manners? Without waiting for Li Suifeng to speak, Li Lingtian took a step forward and stood in front of Zhon Taiyang. He glared at Zhon Taiyang fiercely. Needless to say, Zhon Taiyang was standing on the Yang family's side. He was the Yang family's puppet. How rude. You look down on the ruler and insult the tutor. Is this the upbringing of the Northern Marquis estate? I've experienced it. In an instant, more than a dozen censors were criticizing Li Lingtian, including Li Suifeng. Many censors had been instructed by the Yang family to suppress Marquis Pingbei. Li Suifeng was already used to it after all these years. You. Zhon Taiyang was stunned by Li Lingtian's question. He did not know how to answer at that moment, and his nose was covered in dust in front of so many officials. Li Lingtian, some time ago, he caused trouble outside the city gate and killed the patrol team. He disregarded the empire's dignity. Do you still want to deny it? Seeing that Zhon Taiyang couldn't get off the stage, Yang Zhiqing stood up and said loudly, trying to change the topic. However, what happened next made him even more unbearable. He was so angry that his face turned green and purple, and he looked extremely ugly. Get lost to the side for this young master first. I'll settle the score with you later. Li Lingtian glanced at Yang Zhiqing. The Yang family was just a dog in the imperial court, waiting for him to settle the score and wipe out Skydragon City. Impudent. How dare you call me young master in the Heavenly Dragon Palace? This is disregarding the ruler, despising the law, and losing etiquette. Zhon Taiyan's face lit up immediately. He had finally found a way to deal with Li Lingtian. Just this alone would bring him under the empire's law. All right, you old fart, stop calling me that. I have the right to call me that. I dare to do so in the Heavenly Dragon Palace and the 4 great empires of the Green Continent. What do you mean by looking down on the law? When did this young master look down on the law? When did this young master look down on the ruler? You've lived for decades. Have you lived like a dog? As Li Lingtian spoke calmly, the entire Heavenly Dragon Palace became extremely stifling. All the civil and military officials were stunned, including Nangong Haoming, who was sitting on the throne. Was this imperial palace still his? Why was a young man calling him this young master in front of him? It was as if everyone had become a foil. Chapter 103, Tianyu Token. Chapter 103, Tianyu Token. Only Li Suifeng remained calm as he smiled at Li Lingtian. As he was confident, he was fearless. Scared. The Heavenly Dragon Palace was in an uproar. A young man actually scolded the Grand Tutor for living like a dog for decades. Was he trying to rebel? Li Suifeng, give me a reasonable explanation. Nangong Haoming couldn't stand it anymore. In his own empire, he could let his people humiliate him, but he couldn't blame Li Suifeng on the spot. The Li family had made great contributions, and countless generals in the army were disciples of the Li family. Your Majesty, Li Lingtian is a disciple of Sky Cloud sect and also the heir of the Marquis of Pingbei residence. He has returned to Tianlong Kingdom to participate in the competition. The patrol team was instructed by the Yang family to stop Li Lingtian. Everyone outside the city gate witnessed Yang Xin's attempt to kill my son first. Li Suifeng took a step forward and bowed respectfully to Nangong Haoming. Then, he told Nangong Haoming what had happened outside the city gate. He turned to Zhon Taiyang with a faint smile. Grand Tutor, you said my son looked down on the law, looked down on the ruler, and lost his manners. Where did you come from? I would like to ask the Grand Tutor again, what crime should the Yang family's disciples who obstructed the empire's competition be punished with? What crime does my son have for defending himself? Li Suifeng glared at Zhon Taiyang. In the past few years, Zhon Taiyang had been ordered by the Yang family to target him. Now, he finally had the chance to question Zhon Taiyang. The patrol team is protecting Sky Dragon City and His Majesty. It's only right that they attack Li Lingtian. Li Lingtian addressing me in the imperial court is an act of contempt for the ruler and the law. It's disrespectful. Zhon Taiyang said loudly with a smug look on his face. He had easily brushed aside the Yang family's crimes and confirmed Li Lingtian's crimes. He wanted to see how Li Suifeng would step down. Even if His Majesty were to show mercy on behalf of Li Suifeng and Li Lingtian, he would still have to consider his own dignity. Marquis Pingbei's residence was doomed this time. For a moment, the Heavenly Dragon Palace was extremely quiet. Every official had a conclusion in their hearts. It was likely that the Northern Marquis residence had completely fallen this time. Li Lingtian, as the Crown Prince, is supposed to serve the country. However, he killed the Empire's elite and looked down on the ruler. Li Lingtian, do you know your crimes? Nangong Haoming looked at the situation in the main hall and felt troubled. The Marquis of Pingbei had made great contributions to the Empire. For the sake of the Yang family, he had transferred Li Suifeng back to the capital. He was already ashamed of the transfer of power. If he were to attack the Marquis of Pingbei now, it would be hard to avoid feeling bitter. However, his position was also very awkward. Among the four great empires of Eastern Spirit Greenland, Sky Dragon Empire was the weakest. Moreover, Sky Dragon Empire was not a clan. In other words, this emperor was supported by a super sect and super clan in Sky Dragon Empire. The Yang family had grown in power these few years and had gone beyond his control. He had no choice but to do many things. If he didn't satisfy the Yang family, he would also be under pressure. Your Majesty, is self-defense a crime? The death of the patrol team is just their trash. I have the qualifications to be addressed as this young master in the imperial court. Li Lingtian shifted his gaze to Nangong Haoming. The moment he entered, he sized up the emperor. He was a Tier 9 martial king, which was similar to his father's strength. However, after being above Da Bao for a long time, there was an additional aura of a superior. This aura was the legendary aura of the true dragon son of heaven. However, in front of his true dragon body protection and the real dragon race, he was just a fake. With that, he released his divine sense and shot a token towards Nangong Haoming. It was extremely fast and arrived in front of Nangong Haoming in an instant. At this moment, a strange aura blocked the token. It floated in front of Nangong Haoming and could not move at all. Li Lingtian was shocked. There was indeed a super expert. He did not see any real experts at the beginning, but he had seen them on television in his past life. The emperor was always accompanied by experts. Now that he tried, there was indeed a hidden expert, a real expert, and this expert was someone he had never seen before. Everyone was puzzled as they looked curiously at the token in front of Nangong Haoming. They wondered what Li Lingtian was up to. Could it be that a token could shirk all responsibility? Nangong Haoming's eyes were fixed on Li Lingtian. He then grabbed the token with one hand and his calm expression changed drastically. As the emperor of the empire, he could remain calm even if Mount Tai collapsed. Something that had not shocked people for many years had finally happened. Tianyu token. Looking at the 3 words on the token in his hand, he was extremely shocked. As the emperor of the empire, he naturally knew a lot about the matters of the 10 great families and the 4 great sects. Otherwise, his position as the emperor would have ended. The Tianyu token was equivalent to the sect master of Sky Cloud sect. Moreover, this status was very extraordinary. It did not have as much power as the sect master, but in some special cases, this status had already surpassed the sect master. He just didn't know why this Sky Universe token would appear on this youth in front of him. Seeing the Sky Universe token was like seeing the Sky Universe Pavilion Master. The Emperor of Sky Dragon Empire had to be polite even when meeting the sect masters of the 4 sects. The Sky Pavilion Master was not someone the Emperor could provoke. You are the Sky Pavilion Master? Nangong Haoming could not be bothered to lose his composure as he probed Li Lingtian. When he asked this question, he felt that he was dumbfounded. He actually had to ask such an impossible question. However, when he thought of Li Lingtian's high-profile visit to Sky Dragon City, killing a martial king with a single strike and addressing him as young master in the imperial court, he could not help but think of the identity of the Heavenly Pavilion Master. It was too heaven-defying for a 16-year-old youth to be the Sky Pavilion Master. I am the Sky Pavilion Master. Does your Majesty think that this token is fake? Li Lingtian grabbed at the air with one hand and the token in Nangong Haoming's hand returned to his hand. Even the strange aura did not stop him at all. Nangong Haoming was well aware that the token would only ignore any restrictions if it was connected to the owner's mind. Li Lingtian easily retrieved the token, which meant that it was his. However, this identity plane was too exaggerated. It was the first time in the thousands of years of Sky Cloud sect that someone had become the Sky Cloud Pavilion Master at the age of 16. This was the first time someone had become the Sky Cloud Pavilion Master after idling for thousands of years. Boom! At that moment, a shocking pressure erupted from the Heavenly Dragon Palace. The pressure was directed at Li Lingtian alone and the others did not notice it at all. The pressure was so powerful that it felt like the heavens had descended. Li Lingtian was shocked to the core. The hidden master had indeed made a move to test the waters. Chapter 104, Tang Ziming arrives. Chapter 104, Tang Ziming arrives. True Dragon Body Protection. Without batting an eyelid, he circulated all the true qi in his body and activated the True Dragon Body Barrier. He waved his hand intentionally or unintentionally, and a stream of dragon qi was unleashed. Kai kai, kai kai. A sizzling sound appeared in the air. Everyone was puzzled and their eyes revealed a look of horror. In an instant, the dragon qi and the pressure disappeared. The hall was still quiet as if nothing had happened. Only a surprised sound came from the dark. At the same time, Nangong Haoming remained silent. However, Li Lingtian could clearly sense that someone was sending a secret voice transmission with his divine consciousness. However, he could not figure out what the other party was saying. Your Majesty, this kid's cultivation is strange. Although he's only a Tier 9 warrior spirit, his strength is definitely not something a warrior king can compare to. Your Majesty, you must handle this matter carefully. The Tianyu Pavilion Master is not someone the Yang family can contend with. The elder in green who was hiding in the dark transmitted his voice. He was also extremely shocked. Although the attack just now was just a pressure, it was broken by a warrior spirit realm disciple. Moreover, he had broken through his pressure without leaving a trace. That mysterious aura made him feel afraid. Sky Cloud sect was not a fool. They would not give the token of the Heavenly Cloud Pavilion Master to others so easily. If they were to hand it over to a warrior spirit disciple now, this matter would definitely not be so simple. Not to mention the others, killing 24 rank 3 martial kings in one move was something that even a super martial arts grandmaster could not do. Thank you, Elder Qing. Junior understands. Nangong Haoming was extremely shocked. He didn't expect the powerful Elder Qing to think so highly of this young man. This young man was too terrifying. Others might not know, but he knew how powerful Elder Qing was. He was a top expert of the 4th level of the Martial Emperor realm. Moreover, Elder Qing was not a figure from the Green Continent. He was an envoy from another place. The momentary silence in the hall was quickly broken as they were curious about Li Lingtian's token. Yang Zhicheng also felt that something was wrong. A token that could make His Majesty so surprised was definitely not that simple. Could it be that something unexpected was about to happen? Pavilion Master Tianyu? What is the Sky Pavilion Master? He is the Sky Pavilion Master. How is that possible? What is the identity of the Sky Pavilion Master? Could it be that Pavilion Master Tian you can look down on ruler? Most of the people in the imperial court were civil officials, so they didn't know what the Heavenly Pavilion Master was. Even some super experts might not be able to find the Heavenly Pavilion Master. Only a few martial king realm guards were shocked. This was because the Sky Pavilion Master was equivalent to the sect master of Sky Cloud sect, or even an existence that surpassed the sect master. HMPH, ignorant. If you knew the identity of the Sky Pavilion Master, you wouldn't be so ignorant. General Liu, what do you mean? What do I mean? Look at your Majesty. Since you can come into contact with the Sky Cloud Pavilion Master, you should know about the Sky Cloud Sect Master, right? General Liu Qinghe, was one of the few people in the imperial court who knew about the pavilion master of the Sky Pavilion. He was also extremely shocked. It was hard for him to imagine that this youth was the pavilion master of the Sky Pavilion. There was no one who didn't worship the strong. The civil and military officials were opposing each other, and these generals had always disliked civil officials. Now that they had such an opportunity to attack the other party, how could they let it go so easily? Sky Cloud Sect Master. He is the sect leader of the 4 great sects of our empire. I naturally know about him. Is there any connection between the Sky Cloud Pavilion Master and the Sky Cloud Sect Master? Everyone started to discuss. Liu Qinghe was speechless when he heard this blockhead. Was this still a civil official? Why would he ask such a stupid question? Yang Zhiqing, the patrol team has failed in their duties. From today onwards, the patrol team will be handed over to General Chengping. General Chengping will be promoted to rank 2. Li Lingtian, as the heir of the empire, has brought glory to the country. I shall confer you a title of nobility. You're still too young, so one shall confer Li Chongyang the title of Duke of North Peace. Nangong Haoming muttered to himself for a long time before he finally announced. Everyone was stunned. He did not expect things to turn out like this. This was a token that turned the situation around. Originally, the Yang family had planned to completely wipe out the Pingbei Marquis residence from the imperial court. However, in the end, the Yang family lost the city defense unit. The Pingbei Marquis residence had Li Chongyang become Duke Pingbei, and the city defense unit had also become the Pingbei Marquis residences. Because Cheng Ping was the former subordinate of Marquis Pingbei, even a fool would understand that the emperor was suppressing the Yang family to promote Marquis Pingbei. Soon, everyone left the hall. Yang Zhiqing's face was ashen. He didn't know how to explain this to the family head. Li Chongyang from the Northern Marquis's residence had become Duke of Northern Peace and his status had skyrocketed. Countless courtiers had come to curry favor with Li Suifeng, and Li Lingtian had finally witnessed how thick-skinned these courtiers were. When Li Lingtian and Li Chongyang returned to the Marquis residence, it was bustling with activity. Gossip always spread the fastest. Before the two of them returned, the news of Li Chongyang being conferred the title of Duke of Pingbei had already reached the Marquis residence. Li Chongyang was Li Lingtian's grandfather. He had been in closed-door cultivation for the past few years in preparation to break through to a higher realm. There was no news of him until now. However, Li Lingtian was not interested in such matters. However, the appearance of someone in his line of sight made him smile. Big brother Ling Tian. That's right, this person was Tang Ziming, his fiancé. After he returned from Hidden Dragon Island, Tang Ziming left Sky Cloud Sect and returned to Sky Dragon City. He did not expect to come to his house today and see this little beauty. His mood immediately improved. Tang Ziming missed Li Lingtian ever since he entered Hidden Dragon Island. She had been cultivating diligently ever since she returned to Sky Dragon City. This period of time was when he was trying to break through to warrior spirit. He did not expect that his brother Ling Tian had returned to Sky Dragon City. Moreover, Li Lingtian's story was spreading like wildfire. Meng Meng. When Li Lingtian saw Tang Ziming lunging at him, he gave her a gentle hug before he sized her up. This little beauty of his was becoming more and more beautiful and charming. However, there were too many people here, so it was not a good influence. There were still many people watching. Then, he gently pushed Tang Ziming away and the two of them went to the living room. Qin Susu, Li Xiaoxiao, and the rest were smiling at Li Lingtian and his wife, causing Li Lingtian to feel awkward. Big brother Ling Tian, let's go out and play, okay? Tang Ziming whispered into Li Lingtian's ear when she saw people looking at them from all directions. Her heart was thumping non-stop. All right, let's go out and play. Li Lingtian nodded before the two of them bowed to Li Suifeng and his wife and left. Li Xiaoxiao and Tang Zimings left the living room together. After leaving the living room, Li Lingtian casually waved his hand and a guard came before him. Young master, what instructions do you have? Wu Yun stood with a bow. He was a tier 4 warrior king, but he knew in his heart that he would not be a match for his young master even if he cultivated for another 100 years. let alone a Tier 4 warrior king. His young master was extremely powerful and had endless means. His alchemy skills were unparalleled, and he had countless spiritual fruits. There were countless guards who wanted to curry favor with his young master. He did not expect that he would get the opportunity. I want to go out for a walk. Prepare a ride. Li Lingtian instructed Wu Yun as he walked. Tang Ziming's fair hand was holding his arm and she looked extremely happy. Li Xiaoxiao and Tang Ziming's maid, Qing Ping, followed behind. Chapter 105, Chapter 105, Yun Longstream, 1. Chapter 105, Yun Longstream, 1. All right, young master, please wait a moment. Wu Yun was instantly as excited as if he had won a $5 million prize. Accompany young master to go out and have fun. This kind of thing was like a pie falling from the sky. After saying that, he ran out. He no longer looked like a martial king. Li Lingtian had grown numb to the guard's behavior over the past few days. In his opinion, it was normal. The North Peace Manor was huge. After walking for a full 10 minutes, Li Lingtian and the rest finally arrived at the manor's main entrance. There was already a manor beast carriage waiting for them at the entrance. This beast carriage was completely different from Zheng Lin's beast carriage. The beast carriage in front of him was extremely luxurious, 10 meters long and 5 meters wide. It was pulled by 2 tall and mighty Grade 3 azure cloud beasts. This beast carriage alone symbolized the status of a top-level official of the empire. Only officials of the second rank and above were qualified to own such a beast carriage, and only those of the second rank could ride it. Wu Yun knew that Li Lingtian's identity was extraordinary. In terms of true identity, even the emperor would not dare to provoke him. Naturally, he was qualified to ride in this beast carriage. Young master, please. Young madam, please. When Wu Yun saw Li Lingtian and the others, he bowed respectfully. However, his words stunned Li Lingtian and Tang Ziming. Tang Ziming blushed. Although she was Big Brother Lingtian's fiancée and she liked him, she was not married yet. How could she be so thick-skinned to be called young madam in front of Big Brother Lingtian? Their hearts were pounding non-stop. They lowered their heads and dared not look at Li Lingtian. They quickly boarded the beast carriage. For a moment, no one spoke and the atmosphere was awkward. Wu Yun also felt that something was wrong. However, she remembered that Miss Purple Dream was young master's fiancée. It was only a matter of time before she was addressed like this. As long as young master did not object, it would be fine. The interior of the beast carriage was spacious and bright. It was luxuriously decorated, just like an elegant room. Tang Ziming leaned gently against Li Lingtian with a blissful expression on her face. Li Xiaoxiao and Qingping wanted to laugh at the sight of Li Lingtian, but they could only hold it in. To Cloud Dragon Stream. Li Lingtian instructed Wu Yun, who was waiting outside the beast carriage. Although he had not been in Sky Dragon City for the past few years, he was still familiar with the city. Cloud Dragon Stream was one of the few places with the best scenery in Sky Dragon City. It was also the gathering place for countless royal children, dukes, and scholars. All right. Wu Yun was extremely happy. He personally drove the beast carriage, and it quickly sped into the distance. What are you holding it in for? Laugh if you want to. Li Lingtian saw Li Xiaoxiao and Qingping's expressions. If they continued to hold it in, they would definitely suffer internal injuries. When Li Xiaoxiao was alone with him, she could be unrestrained. But when there were outsiders, she didn't dare to be like this because this was the etiquette of the Pingbei Marquis estate. The two maids giggled non-stop when he finished speaking. However, Tang Ziming was even more exasperated as she kept twisting Li Lingtian's arm. Although he was shy, he was extremely happy in his heart. Although Sky Dragon City was overcrowded, the entire city was 6,000 square kilometers. The buildings were orderly and there were rows of pavilions. The greenstone street was 20 meters wide, and there were shops and pedestrians on both sides. It was no different from the big cities in his previous life. However, the architectural style was that of the Tang dynasty, and the pedestrians were the same as the ancient Tang dynasty, but their enthusiasm did not decrease at all. Big Brother Ling Tian, Tell Meng Meng about what happened in Hidden Dragon Island. After a while, Tang Zimeng finally calmed down and asked Li Lingtian in a soft voice. She was well aware of the dangers in Hidden Dragon Island. Fortunately, her brother Lingtian had returned safely. Moreover, he had become a super genius with incomparably powerful strength. All right then, Li Lingtian said with a smile. The three little beauties in the beast carriage were naturally in a good mood as they took out some spirit fruits. He didn't want to use the other fruits at all. There were spiritual fruits in his divine dragon ring, so he naturally wouldn't waste them. Moreover, one was his maid, the other was his fiancée, and the other was also his fiancée's maid. They weren't outsiders. Wow, this fruit's spiritual energy is so dense. Could it be a spiritual fruit? Qing Ping exclaimed when she saw the spirit fruit Li Lingtian took out. She had seen spirit fruits before, but they did not have such dense spirit qi. He was already satisfied with just meeting her, let alone enjoying her. Tang Zimeng was also extremely surprised. Although she was the precious daughter of the Tang family, spiritual fruits were still rare. She would still cherish them if she saw them once in a while. He did not expect Li Lingtian to casually take out a dozen 10-year-old spirit fruits at once. He thought about Hidden Dragon Island and guessed that brother Lingtian must have obtained these spirit fruits there. Yes, eat it. I don't have anything else, but one have a lot of spiritual fruits. Li Lingtian teased Qingping with a smile. Like Li Xiaoxiao, Qingping had always been Tang Zimeng's maid and he had known her for a long time. Thank you, young master. Qingping was stunned when she heard Li Lingtian's words. Although she was Tang Zimeng's maid, she had never enjoyed such a spirit fruit before. She did not expect Li Lingtian to bring it out for them to eat. Li Xiaoxiao did not feel anything. She had obtained quite a number of such spiritual fruits in the past few days. As long as Li Lingtian was around, he would not use fruits but spiritual fruits instead. Just like that, Li Lingtian talked about the Hidden Dragon Island while enjoying the spirit fruit. However, he did not want Tang Zimeng to worry about the unimportant matters. The three little beauties listened to Li Lingtian's experiences while eating the spirit fruit. They were excited when they heard about some of the places. Tang Zimeng knew that it would not be so easy on Hidden Dragon Island. Brother Lingtian did not mention the dangers because he did not want her to worry. Despite the three little beauties, the dozen or so spiritual fruits were quickly taken care of. Li Lingtian extended his hand and the dozen or so spiritual fruits appeared on the coffee table once again. Young master, how many spiritual fruits do you have? Could it be that you know how to change spells? Qing Ping watched as Li Lingtian ate the spirit fruits like they were fruits. In fact, they were endless. She grew even more curious and excited. As Tang Zimeng's maid, in this world, a maid would be married off with the young lady. In other words, when Tang Zimeng married Li Lingtian, she would be a maid as well. The young man in front of her was handsome and charming enough to make all the women in the world fall for him. In the future, she would be satisfied with everything if she followed him. Hehe, let me think about it. Actually, even if you eat it like rice, you won't be able to finish it in 100 years. Li Lingtian muttered to himself for a moment before he replied calmly. He was very fond of the little beauty before him. At the very least, she was pleasing to the eyes and heart. Wow, so many. Chapter 106, Wen Tianqing. Chapter 106, Wen Tianqing. The three little beauties were shocked beyond words. However, they soon thought that Li Lingtian was just teasing them. Nevertheless, they were still very happy. Unknowingly, the beast carriage had already arrived at the Cloud Dragon Stream. Wu Yun found a place to park the beast carriage and stopped it. Young master, we have arrived at the Cloud Dragon Stream. Wu Yun respectfully called out to Li Lingtian. Let's go down. It's been a long time since we've been here. Li Lingtian said as he reached out to hold Tang Zimeng's jade-like hand. He felt a little nostalgic. Yeah, the last time big brother Lingtian brought Meng Meng here was 8 years ago. Tang Zimeng pouted her rosy lips, looking adorable. She leaned gently on Li Lingtian's arm and alighted from the carriage. The Cloud Dragon Stream was already at the edge of the city. Only a part of it belonged to the city, while the rest was outside. Those who came here to play were either the young masters and young ladies of rich aristocratic families, the descendants of the imperial family, or the geniuses of the sects. Each of them had a maid or attendant behind them. Some luxurious beast carriages were parked outside the Cloud Dragon stream. From the beast carriages, one could tell the identity of these people. Li Lingtian scanned the area. He finally understood that it was only when he arrived in the capital that he realized how many officials there were and what a high-ranking official was. The beast carriages here were incomparably luxurious, even more luxurious than the ones in the Marquis Manor. The arrival of Li Lingtian's beast carriage attracted the attention of many. After all, only rank 2 officials were allowed to ride in these 2 beast carriages. However, when they saw that it was only a youth who got off the beast carriage, they all revealed disdainful expressions. When they saw Tang Ziming and the other 2 maids, many young masters and warriors from aristocratic families were excited. Of course, Li Lingtian was nothing but air. Young master, the scenery over there is better. This subordinate will send you there from here. Seeing the malicious gazes of many martial artists and young masters, Wu Yun quickly said. He would try his best not to let his young master meet these people. If something happened, he would be in trouble. Li Lingtian did not say a word as he walked straight ahead. The Yunlong Stream was indeed one of the most scenic spots in Sky Dragon City. Soon, the 4 of them arrived at a place with fewer people. Wu Yun followed from afar. At this time, he did not want to be a third wheel. Otherwise, he would be a fool or courting death. Tang Ziming's little hand was holding Li Lingtian's arm. The beautiful scenery around her no longer existed in her eyes because Li Lingtian was the only person in her world. Li Xiaoxiao and Qing Ping were also overjoyed. They weaved some beautiful flowers into garlands and wore them on their heads. After leaving the mansion, they were like birds that had just come out of their cages. The few of them walked for a full 3 hours, and Tang Ziming felt a little tired. Finally, the 4 of them arrived at a pavilion at the top of the mountain. Li Lingtian finally understood why the men in his previous life did not want to go shopping with women. Shopping was not something a man could bear. Even with the company of a peerless beauty, he still felt tired. It was even more tiring than fighting with a martial arts grandmaster. He did not understand why a seemingly weak girl would be so tireless when she played. However, just as he arrived at the pavilion and sat down, he heard an extremely discordant voice. "Move aside. This is the seat my young master wants to sit on. You don't have the right to sit here." The voice was unruly and did not sound like a servant at all. Instead, it sounded like a domineering master. Li Lingtian and the rest followed the voice and saw a few young men walking over from another path. There were also a dozen guards and maids. A few fellows seeking death. When he saw these people, he had already understood their cultivation and strength. They were all at the Martial King realm, and there was even a rank 1 martial arts grandmaster. "Why? We arrived here first." Li Xiaoxiao did not say anything when she saw Li Lingtian. However, she had learned a lot about Li Lingtian over the past few days. Although Li Lingtian did not say anything, it did not mean that he was afraid. In his heart, young master was the strongest. No matter how many people there were, they were just a pile of trash. You don't know if you're dead or alive. Don't you have eyes? Young master, when Tianqing is here. Why aren't you guys leaving? Do you want to die? A young man dressed like a young master said coldly. His face was full of flattery. He was a rank 5 martial king, but in front of the martial arts grandmaster beside him, he was a complete clown. The other guards, maids, and attendants had already arrived outside the pavilion and immediately surrounded it. For a moment, the atmosphere on the mountain peak was extremely oppressive. "Brat, get lost. We want this place, but these 3 girls have to stay." A Tier 9 warrior king youth looked at Li Lingtian with disdain. In his eyes, a warrior spirit disciple with 3 beauties accompanying him was like a toad eating swan meat. All the other disciples of the aristocratic families also looked at Tang Ziming and the other 2. One had to know that Tang Ziming was so beautiful that even a heaven immortal could not compare to her. Although Li Xiaoxiao and Qing Ping were maids, They were also extremely beautiful. Really? Li Lingtian looked at Wen Tianqing, the most powerful of them all. He would not die if he did not seek death. Since he wanted to seek death, he should die. As he spoke, he looked at Wen Tianqing indifferently, completely ignoring the other martial king disciples. Judging from their attire, these people should not be from Sky Dragon City. It should be a junior disciple of some sect or family. How dare he have designs on his own woman? Wasn't this courting death? Dragons had reverse scales, and they would be enraged if they were touched. His reverse scales were his family, friends, and women. Brat, who are you talking to? This is the third young master of the Wen family. Do you think you are qualified to talk to him? When the Tier 4 warrior king who had started speaking saw that Li Lingtian had ignored him and was being ignored in front of these beauties, he was instantly enraged. If Wen Tianqing had not spoken, he would have killed this little warrior spirit disciple. Yes, you leave. The three of them have to stay. Wen Tianqing stared at Tang Zimeng with a look of amazement. She had never seen such a beautiful and charming girl before. She was completely mesmerized by the girl in front of her. All right, you can get lost now. Li Lingtian's face was calm and collected, but his eyes were sharp as he stared at Wen Tianqing. He raised one hand and the space trembled slightly. A powerful demonic force burst forth and a huge multicolored beast appeared before everyone. Multicolored beast. Tier 4, Level 4 multicolored beast. Oh my god. Why is there a Tier 4 multicolored beast? In an instant, everyone cried out in surprise. Tang Zimeng and the other two ladies were equally astonished. They were well aware of Li Lingtian's strength, but they did not expect him to use a Tier 4 mystical beast. Roar. With a loud roar, the powerful pressure suppressed everyone. Wen Tianqing was also shocked. A 4th tier demonic beast was equivalent to a 4th tier martial arts grandmaster. She was only a 1st tier martial arts grandmaster. Wouldn't she be courting death if she fought with this demonic beast? He had wanted to show off in front of a beauty just now, but now, a warrior spirit opponent had taken out a Tier 4 demonic beast. His face turned green and white, and he looked extremely ugly. All right, let's go. Wen Tianqing was shocked. She no longer cared about her face. Her life was more important. Chapter 107, Acting. Chapter 107, Acting. After forcefully resisting the pressure of the Tier 4 multicolored beast, he turned around and was about to leave. The other martial kings also planned to leave. However, a few guards and servants could not move at all in the face of the pressure of the demonic beast. They were ignored and gave up. I told you to scram, not leave. Li Lingtian said coldly. Against these trash, even if he did not make a move, he could still kill them all. You're too much. How could a warrior king not be enraged when he heard Li Lingtian's lukewarm words and was humiliated in front of so many guards and servants? However, when he looked at the tall and mighty multicolored beast, he could only lower his noble head and lie down slowly, preparing to roll down. The multicolored beast withdrew its pressure. All the martial kings were prepared to scram. They were bound to be strong. Wen Tianqing was the only one who looked at Li Lingtian with a cold gaze. As a martial arts grandmaster and a genius disciple of the Wen family, how could he just roll away in front of a beauty? Before you scram, you have to cripple your cultivation or stay here forever. Li Lingtian said coldly as he stared at Wen Tianqing. If he was not convinced, he would die. He was already indifferent to his own life. He had seen countless powerhouses die in the past few battles. This is too much. Our young master Wen is a friend of Pingbei Marquis Residence's young master Li Lingtian. If you dare to offend young master Wen, aren't you afraid of Li Lingtian? One of the guards said loudly, causing everyone to be stunned. Li Lingtian, Tang Zimeng, Li Xiaoxiao, and Qingping were also stunned. Their expressions kept changing. If you scram quickly and leave the three of them behind, our young master Wen might consider sparing your life. Seeing the change in Li Lingtian and the rest's expressions, the warrior kings were delighted as well. They thought that Li Lingtian and the rest were frightened. During this period of time, Many people in Sky Dragon City had been spreading rumors about Li Lingtian's deeds. At the critical moment, they suddenly thought of Li Lingtian and wanted to use him to suppress the few people before them. Wen Tianqing's face revealed a trace of surprise, but it disappeared in the blink of an eye. She was satisfied with the quick work of this servant beside her. He could easily catch the attention of the few people in front of her. "I'm scared. I'm really scared. Do you know Li Lingtian?" Li Lingtian almost burst out laughing in his heart. It was truly a coincidence to encounter such a situation. He could meet all kinds of people. Wasn't it nonsense for someone to use his reputation to suppress him in front of him? However, there was a look of fear on his face. If he really went to act, the title of Best Actor would definitely belong to him. "Young master, I'm so scared." Li Xiaoxiao and the other two immediately understood. They tried their best not to laugh and quickly played along with Li Lingtian's act. Instantly, the four of them looked like frightened birds, causing the martial king and servants outside the pavilion to heave a sigh of relief. Moreover, their eyes revealed a sinister look. "Mph, I'll take this demonic beast and cripple your own cultivation. Scram, the three of you stay." Wen Tianqing was relieved to see Li Lingtian and the others in such a state. She walked toward the pavilion and sat down on a stool without restraint. "Young master." Li Lingtian was bored and was prepared to continue his act. However, a voice rang out and he knew that it was impossible for him to continue acting. A middle-aged martial king guard ran over quickly. He was stunned when he saw Wen Tianqing sitting with his young master. He thought Wen Tianqing was his young master's new friend. "Greetings, young master and young mistress. Isn't this young master Wen? It's rare for young noble Wen to hit it off so well with our young noble Ling Tian." Wu Yun bowed to Li Lingtian and Tang Zimeng. Tang Zimeng was left speechless by Wu Yun's habit of addressing Tang Zimeng as young madam. She did not know if he was doing it on purpose or out of habit. If she were to say it out loud, she would feel even more embarrassed. However, everyone was stunned when they heard that Wen Tianqing and Li Lingtian hit it off. Li Lingtian, Tang Zimeng, and the others smiled faintly. "Ha ha, ha ha. Hehe, this is too funny. This is too funny. That's right, our young noble Ling Tian and young noble Wen really hit it off, hey." Li Lingtian could not hold it in any longer. He burst out laughing in front of all the warrior kings and Wen Tianqing. Then, Li Xiaoxiao, Tang Zimeng, and Qingping all laughed. They laughed so hard that it made their blood boil. The others were stunned. Their faces were as ugly as they could be, especially Wen Tianqing's. "What did you say? He was young noble Ling Tian? Li Lingtian? His Pingbei Marquis residence's Li Lingtian? If he's the son of Marquis Pingbei, Li Lingtian, then isn't she Tang Zimeng, Duke Tang's granddaughter?" The few martial kings and servants who had a smug look on their faces earlier asked in disbelief. In their hearts, they had assumed that the young man's name was Li Lingtian. "What's wrong? If you don't know my young master, then why are you sitting with him?" "Wen Tianqing, young master Wen, what is going on?" Wu Yun stretched out his hand, and a token appeared in his hand. It was the token of the North Marquis's guard. When this token was lit up, it represented the North Marquis residence. What everyone didn't want to believe had become the truth, and it looked extremely ugly. "Wu Yun, they want me to scram and they want them to stay. I'm a little scared." Li Lingtian stood up and pretended to be afraid. At this moment, everyone was cursing Li Lingtian a few hundred times in their hearts. To pretend to be bitter at a time like this, was this not embarrassing? How could he be afraid? The famous young master Ling Tian had killed 24 rank 3 martial kings with one move and crippled the patrol captain who was at the peak of rank 9 martial king with one move. He had bragged in front of this person and even claimed that he and Wen Tianqing were friends. He had used Li Lingtian's name to oppress Li Lingtian himself. He was utterly humiliated. This was also the reason why no one knew who Li Lingtian was. They did not know what Li Lingtian looked like or his cultivation level. Otherwise, they would not have used his name to oppress the main body. Wu Yun was well aware that these people were bullying Li Lingtian's group with their strength and numbers. Li Lingtian's group had been putting on an act all along, but his arrival had stopped the act. So you're Li Lingtian? Wen Tianqing wished she could find a hole to hide in. She was a genius disciple of the Wen family, a grandmaster powerhouse of the Tang Tang family, yet she wanted to use the reputation of a warrior spirit disciple to threaten others. He had even admitted that he was a friend of that warrior spirit disciple. He had lowered his net worth to cater to a warrior spirit disciple, and now, that person was the youth in front of him. I'm Li Lingtian. Since you want me to leave, I'll leave. Li Lingtian held Tang Ziming's hand and was about to leave the pavilion. Qingping and Li Xiaoxiao followed behind him. Wu Yun was puzzled. Since when did his young master become so easy to talk to? But before he left, Wen Tianqing spoke. Young Master Li, please forgive me. I was blind and did not recognize Mount Tai. I have offended young master. Please forgive me. You trash, why don't you apologize to young Master Li? If young Master Li doesn't accept your apology, one will cripple you. Wen Tianqing knew that she was really unlucky today. How could she encounter such a thing? She looked at the other martial kings and servants with a sharp gaze. Chapter 108, Power 1. Chapter 108, Power 1. Young Master Li, please spare my life. One was blind. Young Master Li, just treat me as a fart and let me go. Young Noble Ling Tian, please forgive me. Begging for mercy was heard everywhere. Everyone knelt on the ground, tears rolling down their faces. They looked extremely miserable. Li Lingtian was speechless as he no longer looked like a martial king. Now that his identity had been exposed, it would not be easy to kill these people. If these people did not know him, he would have killed them for nothing. However, his identity had already been exposed, so he could only spare their lives. It was the crucial moment of the competition in Sky Dragon City. He did not want to make enemies everywhere. He was not afraid, but he did not want to cause trouble for his father's family. I'm fine, but my Meng Meng and the others are in shock. What do you think we should do? Li Lingtian looked troubled as he returned to his stool and sat down. He looked at the warrior king and his servants kneeling in front of him with a frightened expression. At the same time, Tang Ziming and the other two girls pretended to be frightened and cooperated seamlessly. Wen Tianqing and the others who were kneeling on the ground were furious. They didn't look frightened at all, but they didn't dare to say anything. 1,000 spirit stones. Thank you for your respect. A Tier 3 warrior king guard took out 1,000 spiritual stones. Naturally, he knew what Li Lingtian meant. Since this was extortion, they could only accept it. You motherfucker, I'll reward you with this fruit. Li Lingtian suddenly cursed. With a wave of his hand, a spirit fruit flew out and struck the Tier 3 warrior king guard's dantian. The guard did not resist at all and a pained expression appeared on his face as his cultivation was crippled. Everyone's heart trembled. A warrior spirit youth had crippled a Tier 3 warrior king guard with just a random fruit. What kind of strength was this? However, when they saw the fruit that crippled a rank 3 martial king guard, they were stunned. This was a spiritual fruit, and he actually used it to smash people. Wasn't 1,000 spirit stones insulting others? 1,000,000 spirit stones per person. If you don't have it, you can leave your life behind. As for you, 30 million spirit stones. Li Lingtian glared at the kneeling warrior before shifting his gaze to the trembling Wen Tianqing. The Wen family was powerful, but Li Lingtian's reputation was not small. Hence, he did not pay any attention to them. There was a huge gap between a first-level martial arts grandmaster and a peak 9th-level martial king. However, this young man had crippled Yang Haozong, who was at the peak of the 9th-level martial king, with one strike. He was a first-level martial arts grandmaster, so how much hope did he have of defeating this young man in front of him? Furthermore, there was a 4th-level demonic beast eyeing him covetously. 1,000,000. 1,000,000. I don't have 1,000,000. Are you robbing me? 30 million. Everyone exclaimed. Wen Tianqing could not sit still anymore. 30 million? Even a martial arts grandmaster like him could not afford 30 million. 3 million was more like it. Even if he was beaten to death, he could not afford 30 million. Go collect the spirit stones. If you don't have 1,000,000, you'll be killed. Li Lingtian called out to Wu Yun. The multicolored beast's aura burst forth once again. The Tier 4 Level 4 aura suppressed all the warrior kings and servants once again. Big brother, one only have 700,000. I only have 920,000 yuan, okay? I only have 310,000. I only have 70,000. Some martial kings could still barely fork out 1,000,000, but those servants did not have 1,000,000. Scram to the side and wait for young master's punishment. Wu Yun's face was filled with excitement as he kept a large number of spiritual stones into his storage bag. He did not let a single spiritual stone go. Then, he kicked a rank 3 martial king guard to the side. Li Lingtian, I heard that you killed a Tier 9 warrior king some time ago. Did you rely on this mystical beast? Wen Tianqing's expression kept changing. In the end, she said with a trembling voice, looking at the multicolored beast with fear. Are you testing my patience? I'll give you one chance. Take one of my moves and you can scram. If you can't take it, then it won't be 30 million, but 300 million. Li Lingtian said coldly with a nonchalant expression on his face. He was a Tier 9 warrior spirit who spoke with confidence when facing a warrior ascendant, completely disregarding the strength of a warrior ascendant. All the martial artists had the illusion that the youth in front of them was not a youth but a supreme grandmaster. It was like a martial arts grandmaster reprimanding a martial arts disciple. Who was the real Wu Zong? A warrior spirit's disciple was actually superior to Wen Tianqing, a rank 1 martial grandmaster. Alright, that's what you said. Wen Tianqing's face lit up with joy. No matter where it was, gossip was always the most exaggerated. A warrior spirit could never defeat a warrior king. This was also a special rule in the divine martial continent for countless years. Unless he used a top-notch treasure. However, even if he used a top-notch treasure, there was no possibility of him losing to a warrior spirit. If he could defeat this warrior spirit disciple, he would become famous in the Heavenly Dragon sect. Tang Zimeng, Li Xiaoxiao, Qingping, and Wu Yun were all stunned. Li Lingtian's reputation was not small recently, but they did not believe that he could win against a martial arts grandmaster powerhouse. Then 1 foot 11 inches show you what an attack is. Li Lingtian stood up and walked out with his hands behind his back. He stood tall in his white robe with his long flowing hair draped over his shoulders. His eyes were like the stars. For a moment, all the girls present were stunned. Spiritual purple shield, activate. Heavenly young body, defense. Shield of the earth. 9 cloud wind technique. When a rank 1 martial arts grandmaster used 4 top-notch defenses consecutively, no matter which one it was not something that a martial king could break. When the 4 defenses were combined, not even a martial arts grandmaster could break it, let alone a martial king. On the top of the mountain, the terrifying aura of a martial arts grandmaster skyrocketed. Everyone struggled in front of the aura of a martial arts grandmaster. This was the aura of a martial arts grandmaster. That's right. If you hadn't met me, even a Tier 5 martial arts grandmaster wouldn't have been able to break through your defense. But your luck is very bad. Li Lingtian's expression was calm. He was shocked when he saw Wen Tianqing displaying 4 types of top-notch defenses. Only the genius disciples of the superclans could cultivate such defenses. If he had not met him, a Tier 5 martial arts grandmaster would not have been able to break through this defense. However, he had met him, so he deserved to be unlucky. Wen Tianqing's expression was extremely ugly as she spoke. She had a feeling that an elder was guiding a junior in cultivation. However, when he saw Li Lingtian cleaning up, his expression changed drastically. Li Lingtian took a step forward and his aura surged. A majestic aura emerged from his body. No one knew what kind of aura it was because no one had seen it before. It was called Dragon's Might. He had cultivated the true dragon body barrier and tempered his body with dragon energy. Naturally, he was also a member of the dragon race. With one hand and one body, he made a simple gesture. However, this seemingly ordinary gesture shocked all the martial artists present. Simple, but not dignified. Chapter 109, Overbearing Heaven Flipping Seal. Chapter 109, Overbearing Heaven Flipping Seal. A mysterious light flashed within. He waved his right hand continuously, and strange hand gestures appeared in the air. Then, the hand gestures combined into one, and a shocking palm print appeared in the air. The Heaven Up seal is born from the power of the world. You're just a martial arts grandmaster. You can only be destroyed. Li Lingtian muttered to himself. Like a martial arts grandmaster, he did not move, but the giant palm in the air grew stronger as all the spirit chi gathered. The warriors in the cloud dragon stream could clearly feel the fluctuation of spiritual energy. They looked up into the sky and saw a 10-meter wide handprint floating in the air. The giant palm carried a shocking might. No one could break through the power of heaven and earth. What a powerful handprint! It's at least an earth-ranked skill. One wonder which super expert is using such a giant palm. One believe that even a martial arts grandmaster will vanish into thin air with this attack. One don't think there are any experts coming to Cloud Dragon Stream today. Why is there such a powerful handprint? Countless experts and geniuses of the Cloud Dragon Stream were shocked. This giant palm was an Earth-class skill, but it had already come into contact with the power of the world. The power of the world was something that warriors could not easily come into contact with. In the face of such power, any powerhouse below the martial arts grandmaster level would not even have the slightest intention to resist. Li Lingtian had been blessed during this period of time and had cultivated the grand palm imprint to the mastery stage. When Tianqing's expression finally changed, she turned pale and frightened. The other martial kings all prostrated on the ground, not daring to breathe loudly. Destroy. Li Lingtian looked at the giant palm print in the sky seriously. His entire body seemed to have merged with the force of heaven and earth. With a flip of his hand, the shocking giant palm print smashed down fiercely. The mountain peak trembled as if it was about to collapse. Everyone's faces were filled with shock. Was this still a warrior spirit's disciple? Even an ordinary martial arts grandmaster powerhouse might not be able to unleash such an attack. 50 meters, 40 meters. The giant palm slowly descended. Every time it descended, the pressure and power would be several times stronger. The pressure it gave off would be several times stronger. No one dared to imagine what would happen if this attack hit. 10 meters. The peak of the mountain kept shaking, and the top of the mountain was also pressed down fiercely, 10 meters lower. Wen Tianqing, who was the first to bear the brunt of the attack, had blood oozing out of the corner of his mouth. The 4 layers of defense were actually broken by the pressure of this giant palm print. He was completely exposed in front of the giant palm print. One admit defeat, I admit defeat. Bang! Wen Tianqing's face turned pale. She had a mental breakdown. She couldn't stand it anymore and shouted. He spat out a mouthful of blood and knelt on the ground. His mind was shaken. Facing this giant palm, his heart was filled with the shadow of the giant palm. This heaven-flipping seal of mine isn't something you can withstand. You're very tactful. Even a rank 5 martial arts grandmaster would be killed in one strike, let alone a rank 1 martial arts grandmaster like you. Li Lingtian withdrew his giant palm imprint and the spirit chi between heaven and earth returned to normal. All the warriors felt as if they had just returned from the gates of hell. A gentle breeze blew past them, cooling their backs and soaking their clothes. Take out all your spirit stones. If you owe them, write an one owe you. Li Lingtian returned to the pavilion and spoke calmly. He looked at Wen Tianqing, who was kneeling on the ground, with a calm gaze. His words had caused everyone to break down. What kind of person was this? Soon, Wen Tianqing took out 7 million spiritual stones and wrote an 1 OU for 293 million. Everyone was speechless. 300 million. Even the Wen family might not be able to fork out 300 million spiritual stones. Wouldn't that kill Wen Tianqing? Everyone, do you still want to enjoy the scenery with me? After Wu Yun put away the spiritual stones, Li Lingtian's sharp gaze swept across all the warriors as he spoke coldly. No, it's fine. I'll take my leave. All of a sudden, all the martial artists disappeared, running faster than ghosts. The little episode passed just like that. They were no longer in the mood to stay there. Li Lingtian and the rest found another pavilion to rest. They took out their spirit fruits and enjoyed the scenery while enjoying them. By the way, why are you up here? Li Lingtian looked at Wu Yun and the three girls looked at him at the same time. If it were not for Wu Yun's arrival, they could have put on a show for a long time. One saw Wen Tianqing and the others coming up and I was worried that young master would have an unpleasant encounter with them. This Wen Tianqing is not only a genius disciple of the Wen family, but also the future prince consort of the third princess of Tianjin Empire. Wu Yun said seriously. However, Li Lingtian had still taught Wen Tianqing a lesson. In his opinion, it did not matter if he was the emperor or the Fuma of Tianjin Empire. Everything would be fine as long as Li Lingtian was safe. Now that he had witnessed Li Lingtian's true strength, he was extremely excited. A Tier 9 warrior spirit was able to suppress a warrior ascendant powerhouse in one move. If Wen Tianqing had not begged for mercy, 10 Wen Tianqings would not have been enough to kill him. This is for the brothers below. Li Lingtian took out a portion of the spirit stones he had collected and gave the rest to Wu Yun and the guards from North Marquis residence. A dozen martial king realm guards, aristocratic family disciples, and servants added up to more than 14 million spirit stones. It was definitely not a small sum to reward so many spirit stones to the guards of the Marquis residence. Young master, this. Wu Yun saw so many spiritual stones. With over 300 guards, each of them could get 40 to 50,000 spiritual stones. Even though the spiritual stones were not a lot, he was touched by Li Lingtian's generosity toward the guards. There was more than 10 million here. If it was more than 100 million, Li Lingtian would have tipped them without a care. You go down first. I'll be back in a while. Li Lingtian did not wait for Wu Yun's reply before tossing a spirit fruit to him. He then waved his hand in a carefree manner before ignoring Wu Yun. Wu Yun bowed respectfully and then retreated. He had already remembered this master in his heart and was willing to go through fire and water for this master. This is for the three of you. Li Lingtian divided the 7 million spiritual stones into 3 portions and handed them to Tang Ziming and the other 2. The 3 of them were not outsiders. Li Xiaoxiao and Qingping each received 2 million spiritual stones while Tang Ziming received 3 million. Big brother Ling Tian. Young master. The 3 little beauties were stunned. This was the first time they had seen so many spiritual stones. However, they did not care about spiritual stones or wealth when they were with Li Lingtian. Li Lingtian had given them so many spiritual stones without hesitation, which made the 3 of them feel sour. It's just spirit stones. If you lack spirit stones in the future, just ask me for it. Li Lingtian looked at the horizon. The world he came from was also a world of money. Without money, one could not go anywhere. It was the same in this world. Even a super expert needed spiritual stones. Oh right, one got a few vermilion fruits from Hidden Dragon Island. They can help you maintain your appearance. Li Lingtian took out a blood-red fruit from the divine dragon ring. The fruit was filled with a rich spirit qi and the blood-red fruit was almost translucent. It was mesmerizing at first glance. Chapter 110, Chapter 11:0, Pill Refinement, 1. Chapter 11:0, Pill Refinement, 1. A 500-year-old vermilion fruit. That's great. When the 3 little beauties saw the vermilion fruit, they immediately turned their attention to it. The vermilion fruit itself was a spiritual fruit, and this vermilion fruit was 500 years old. It had a unique youth-retaining effect and could also cleanse one's meridians and marrow. There were endless benefits to using it for the first time. However, there weren't many of these fruits. He had only obtained 40 or so from Hidden Dragon Island, and he had consumed one. Without hesitation, Tang Ziming grabbed one of them and kissed Li Lingtian's face excitedly. The air froze as Li Xiaoxiao, Qingping, and Li Lingtian were stunned. However, she soon burst into laughter. Tang Ziming was the only one who blushed and did not dare to look at Li Lingtian because she was too happy. Moreover, she had been together with Li Lingtian since they were young and they were engaged when they were young. Now that she was an adult, the love between them was even more heart-wrenching. After that, The few of them strolled around the Cloud Dragon stream for a while before walking towards the beast carriage. A total of 5 hours had passed. By the time they returned, it was already very late. Qing Ping and Tang Zimeng naturally stayed in the manor. As the fiancé of Li Lingtian, the heir of the marquisdom, and with the good relationship between the Tang family and the Li family, Tang Zimeng often played here when she was young and stayed at the marquisdom at night. At night, Li Lingtian and the others chatted in the pavilion. In the middle of the night, Li Lingtian returned to his room to cultivate. Although the Heaven Up seal is only an earth rank skill, it's extremely powerful when it comes into contact with the power of heaven and earth. Thinking of the power he had displayed during the day, he was still shocked. If he had faced such an attack, he was not sure how confident he would be in taking it. After that, he began to comprehend and cultivate a few skills and techniques. The rest of the time, he used his genuine chi to refine the Roaring Dragon combat halberd. As for the Heaven Extreme Tyrant Emperor Saber, he did not dare to touch it anymore. Before he reached the martial arts Grandmaster level, he would not easily touch the Celestial Extreme Tyrant Emperor Saber. However, the Roaring Dragon combat halberd could be nourished by true chi and dragon chi. There are still 20 days before the Sky Dragon Empire Genius competition. I need to think of a way to refine the Sky Demon pill and the Blue Dust pill in these few days. This way, Xiaobai and the others can also improve their cultivation. I'm still a warrior spirit, so I can still use the Blue Dust pill for a while. With that thought in mind, Li Lingtian began to study the Blue Dust pill's recipe and the Heaven Fei pill's recipe. As for the main ingredient of the Blue Dust pill, the 1000-year stalactite milk, he had already found quite a few of them when he was at Hidden Dragon Island. There was even a 10-year-old stalactite milk. Although it wasn't much, there were 2 jade bottles. It was enough to refine pills. There were more than 10 bottles of 1000-year stalactite milk. 1000-year stalactite milk was used to refine Blue Dust pills, but 10,000-year stalactite milk could be taken directly. 1 drop of it could instantly restore the genuine chi and genuine vitality of a martial artist above the martial king realm. No one knew about this treasure because if others knew about it, they would definitely become the target of pursuit. If a martial king or martial grandmaster martial artist had a drop of 10,000-year stalactite milk, they would be able to increase their true chi cultivation by 1 more time, and they would also have an extra life. After confirming that he was going to refine the elixir, Li Lingtian played with Tang Zimeng and the rest during the day and studied the elixir formula at night. After Tang Zimeng and her husband had fun at the marquisdom for 4 days, they returned to the Tang family. This way, Li Lingtian could relax and refine pills in peace. Before the 2 of them left, they even gave some spirit fruits and pills, as well as a lot of spirit weapons and profound level weapons, for Tang Zimeng and the other to use. As the days passed, Li Lingtian continued to refine pills in his room. No one saw him again except for Li Xiaoxiao, who would occasionally bring him food. Li Lingtian had already spent 11 days in his room. On this day, many guards and servants, as well as Sky Cloud Sect's warriors, were quietly cultivating. Suddenly, they felt the spiritual energy fluctuation in the Marquis's mansion was intense. This kind of spiritual energy fluctuation was indeed not a good thing for martial artists who were cultivating. However, they did not say anything. Instead, they were surprised by the fluctuation of this spiritual chi. Usually, such irregular fluctuations of spiritual chi meant that someone was refining pills, refining weapons, or breaking through. No matter which one it was not a simple matter. Everyone's eyes were fixed on the courtyard where Li Lingtian was because all the spiritual chi was flowing toward Li Lingtian's room. What a powerful spiritual energy fluctuation. Could it be that Brother Li is breaking through? This spiritual energy is heading towards Young Master's room. Young Master is a Tier 9 warrior spirit. Could it be that Young Master is about to make a breakthrough before the competition? If Young Master becomes a martial king, your chances of winning this competition will be even greater. Wu Yun had already told the guards about how Li Lingtian had suppressed the martial arts grandmaster at the peak of Cloud Dragon Stream. Upon hearing this, all the guards were shocked beyond words. Suppressing a Tier 1 warrior ascendant with 1 move? What kind of concept was this? Furthermore, this person was only a Tier 9 warrior spirit disciple. His young master's strength was simply too terrifying. Li Suifeng, his wife, and the rest were also observing Li Lingtian's courtyard seriously. However, no one dared to disturb him at this time. Heaven and earth are one, and the Tao technique is boundless. All spirits return to their original position, forming a true pill. In the room, the heaven and earth creation cauldron was constantly absorbing the spiritual energy. The medicinal liquid in the cauldron was also constantly solidifying. The spiritual energy stirred the medicinal liquid and fused with it. During this period of time, Li Lingtian did not make a move. He spent a full 10 days carefully comprehending it and finally had a sliver of confidence. He only made his move when he was confident. The heaven and earth creation cauldron had also absorbed the Empyrean demon's sacred flame. Otherwise, he would have to find another cauldron. After everything was ready, he began to refine the pill. After 2 hours of refining, he had also started to refine more than 10 medicinal herbs, a type of inner core, and the blood essence of the demon beast. Now, he had reached the critical moment of forming the pill. When forming a pill, a 4th-grade medicinal pill must be infused with spiritual energy. This was also the so-called spirit infusion in alchemy. After pouring in spiritual energy for a full 10 minutes, the spiritual energy was also satisfied. In pill refinement, the control of spiritual energy was especially important. If there was more than 1 point, it would fail. If there was less, it would not meet the quality standards. Pill completed. With a soft shout, the heaven and earth creation cauldron opened. A string of grey shadows appeared. The grey shadows carried dense demonic power and more spiritual energy. That's right, this was the Tier 4 heavenly demon pill that he had refined. The lowest tier of the heavenly demon pill was Tier 4. As his alchemy skills improved, the quality and grade of the heavenly demon pill could also increase. Some time ago, he had come to refine the Heaven Fey pill for the sake of the Heaven Fey pill. Now, he had finally refined it. That's right. 76 high-grade Sky Demon pills are enough for you to enjoy for a period of time. Looking at the 76 pills, Li Lingtian's face revealed a sense of accomplishment. The Tier 4 pills were just a practice. He had finally become a true alchemy grandmaster. This was only the beginning of alchemy. The Nidon of the infant carp beast was precious, but it was not as precious as the 1,000-year stalactite milk. He did not want to waste the stalactite milk, so he refined a Tier 4 heavenly yarrow pill. Collect the pills. With a wave of his hand, a jade bottle appeared in his hand. Then, all the grey shadows entered the jade bottle. He put away the heaven and earth creation cauldron and left the room. He saw countless guards looking at him in surprise. What are you guys doing? Li Lingtian was taken aback by the situation before he asked. Chapter 111, Chapter 111, Grade 4 Heavenly Yarrow Pill. Chapter 111, Grade 4 Heavenly Yarrow Pill. Young Master, you haven't broken through? Wu Yun said. He had always thought that Li Lingtian was making a breakthrough. He did not expect Li Lingtian to still be a warrior spirit when he came out. When did this young master say that one want to break through? This young master is only refining a little Tier 4 medicinal pill. Li Lingtian said lightly, but he was still puzzled. Why were so many people looking at him? There was no smudge on his face. Even if he had broken through, there was no need to do this. There were many martial kings in Sky Dragon City. Only a Tier 4 medicinal pill? Everyone was speechless. He was only refining a Level 4 medicinal pill, and he had the audacity to say such words. Level 4 medicinal pills could only be refined by alchemy grandmasters. No matter how powerful Li Lingtian was, he was only a 16-year-old youth. How could he claim that it was only a Tier 4 pill? However, the guards at the Marquisdom knew that Li Lingtian could refine peerless Tier 2 pills and could barely refine Tier 3 pills. It was possible. But Sky Cloud Sect's dozen or so martial artists were shocked. A heaven-defying monster was enough to shock them. Moreover, it was a Tier 4 alchemy grandmaster. This heaven was 2F** eking unfair, right? Do you want to eat it? Li Lingtian asked with a smile on his face. Yes, yes. All the guards immediately nodded. Only a fool would reject a tier 4 pill. Moreover, Li Lingtian's pills were definitely not wrong. However, when they saw the pill in Li Lingtian's hand, they were stunned and their faces were filled with shock. This is a demon core. A 4th grade demon core. It's a high-grade demon core. A burst of demonic energy was emitted and everyone was stunned. They did not expect Li Lingtian to refine a grade 4 demonic pill and that the quality was of superior grade. Refining high-grade tier 4 medicinal pills, only tier 4 alchemy grandmasters could do it. This pill is for my pets. If you can't take it, I'll refine some 4th grade pills for you in a few days. Li Lingtian put away the heavenly monster pill and spoke indifferently. His face was calm and collected. Refining tier 4 pills was so easy as if it was a daily meal. How could he not be satisfied? Greetings, father and mother. Li Lingtian came before Li Suifeng and his wife and bowed respectfully before the family headed to the living room. The other martial artists and servants were left behind with shocked expressions. This young master was too monstrous. For the next few days, Li Lingtian's room would occasionally experience spirit chi fluctuations. No one was surprised anymore as they were already numb to it. However, every time there was a fluctuation of spiritual energy, it would make them excited for a while. This was because there would only be a fluctuation of spiritual energy when a 4th grade medicinal pill was successful. Within a few days, Li Lingtian had refined 2 bottles of blue dust pills and a large pile of tier 3 void spirit pills. Almost every guard was given 10 void spirit pills, and they were all superior grade ones. While he was refining pills and cultivating in the Marquisdom, the outside world had already turned upside down. Countless super experts had already gathered in Sky Dragon City. This time, the competition in Sky Dragon Empire was the most grand one. Because the Hidden Dragon Island had completed their training in the past few months, the disciples from the Hidden Dragon Island had brought countless medicinal herbs to their families and sects, which had also greatly improved the cultivation of the geniuses of Sky Dragon Empire. On the Sky Dragon Square of Sky Dragon City, a huge arena was built. The arena was made of hard bluestone, and countless arrays of various sizes were added inside. As long as one was not a martial royal realm expert, the arena would not be damaged. The arena was 200 meters long, 200 meters wide, and 10 meters high. 100 meters away from the arena was a 20-meter tall flight of stairs. There were countless seats on the stairs. This was also the seat for the top figures of Sky Dragon Empire. At the same time, it was also the best spectator stand for the sects, families, and members of the royal family. As time passed, Sky Dragon City was sealed to prevent people from causing trouble. The competition lasted for 3 days. The first day was the elimination round, which eliminated most of the martial artists, leaving only a few martial artists. The second day was also the elimination round, but after this elimination, there would be a challenge. The third day was to determine the top 10 geniuses. In the end, the top 10 geniuses would challenge the experts of the previous prodigy role, and 20 experts would compete for the position of the prodigy role. Li Lingtian did not refine any elixirs for the past 2 days. He only cultivated some skills and techniques occasionally to comprehend the harmony of ice and fire. They calmed down and waited for the competition to begin. The dozen Sky Cloud sect experts were all grinding their fists and palms, fighting for a good ranking. This was because Sky Cloud sect only had one person on the prodigy roll, and it was ranked 6th. This position was very awkward. Sky Cloud sect's candidates for the prodigy role were only 2 tier 3 martial arts grandmasters. They were already 46 years old and only had one chance to compete for the prodigy role. As for the others, they were all depending on luck to fight for the top spots. This was because those on the prodigy role were all existences above the 3rd rank of the martial arts grandmaster. As for the martial kings, they were just watching the show from the side. No matter what, the weak were just stepping stones to become the strong. Even though Li Lingtian did not leave the Marquisdom, he was still able to receive news one by one. This was all thanks to Zheng Lin. When Li Lingtian returned to the Marquisdom, he had Zheng Lin sent out and gave him a large sum of spiritual stones to gather information specifically for him about Sky Dragon Empire. In the Sky Dragon Empire competition, he wanted to fight for the next Sons of Heaven rankings. He had to know himself and his enemy and win every battle. In this world, cultivation realm was a rule that measured the strength of a martial artist. However, many times, a martial artist's realm did not necessarily determine a martial artist's true strength. He was an example. He was only at the martial numinous realm, but he could kill martial grandmasters. Since he was an example, could it be that the other geniuses in this world were trash? No, he didn't think so. Moreover, in those top families, there were often some genius disciples with profound cultivation. The cultivation techniques and skills they cultivated were also incomparably powerful. All kinds of powerful equipment would appear on them. He did not want to fail miserably, so he had to understand any of his opponents. Basically, his strength had already eliminated all the martial kings. He could only pay attention to those powerful martial arts grandmasters. Moreover, the stronger the family and sect, the stronger the strength of the disciples. The Green Jade sect, the Bright sect, and the Misty Pavilion had already arrived in Sky Dragon City. The Sky Cloud sect was also in the Marquisdom. The other 10 great families had also arrived. There were also those forces of various sizes. They were slightly inferior to the 10 great families and the 4 super sects, but they were still a force that could not be ignored. In Sky Dragon City, for a moment, his popularity had reached an extreme. Countless markets and betting tables had already started betting on the number of people from the 4 great sects and 10 great families of Sky Dragon Empire who had entered the prodigy role. Chapter 112, Chapter 112, Genius Competition, 1. Chapter 112, Genius Competition, 1. At the same time, they were also betting on whether those top-notch geniuses could enter the prodigy role. They were also betting on the rankings of those super geniuses. This was a rare opportunity. Which of the 4 great sects and 10 great families do you think has the strength to enter the prodigy role? One think that the 6 young masters can enter the prodigy role. No one can compete for the prodigy role of the 6 young masters. The Green Jade sect should have 2 spots. Sky Cloud sect should be doing well this time. I heard Li Lingtian is a disciple of Sky Cloud sect. I think there are disciples from the Wen family who can enter the prodigy role. Various speculations were circulating in Sky Dragon City. In a short period of time, some top geniuses were pushed to the forefront. However, Li Lingtian had lost some popularity among these popular figures. This way, Li Lingtian felt much more relaxed as he did not have to be the center of attention wherever he went. However, it was a grave mistake for him to think that way. Li Lingtian's reputation had already spread throughout Sky Dragon City. Although he was not as good as the martial arts grandmaster super geniuses, he had become the idol of all the young ladies in Sky Dragon City and the object of worship for some geniuses. This was because Li Lingtian was only a warrior spirit. More importantly, he was only 16 years old and had a bright future ahead of him. Even though they had never met Li Lingtian, they could not be too bad thinking about the son of Li Suifeng and Qin Susu, the number 1 beauty of the Qin family. While Sky Dragon City was preparing for the competition, the other empires and mysterious super families were also watching Sky Dragon City. It was even more so for the Southern Mountain Empire and Tianjin Empire. If the geniuses of the Sky Dragon Empire were too heaven-defying, they would become a threat to the other empires. They did not want to see such a thing happen. However, Sky Dragon City was also on guard. Sky Dragon Empire's 500,000-strong army was guarding Sky Dragon City. All the city gates were closed, and the experts who entered the city would be strictly checked. This would also give Sky Dragon City an additional layer of protection. Boom! Boom! The heavenly dragon divine drum sounded 9 times, and the earth-shaking drumbeats shook the entire 6,000 square kilometers of heavenly dragon city. All the warriors knew that this was the biggest event in Sky Dragon City. They were all grinding their fists and rubbing their palms. Although they didn't have the chance to compete, they could still see the geniuses they admired competing for the prodigy role. Some of the top families and forces had also bet on this competition, hoping to become famous in the arena. No matter which clan or sect it was, as long as they had a genius disciple, they could raise the reputation of the sect and clan. The drumbeats continued for a long time. Countless martial artists rushed toward the Heavenly Dragon Square. The Heavenly Dragon Square was 100 kilometers wide, but at this time, it was already crowded with people. No one who came here dared to cause trouble because there were patrol teams everywhere. As long as they caused trouble, they would be disqualified from the competition. Moreover, it might even implicate their families and sects. In the center of the Heavenly Dragon Square, there was a spacious open space. There were countless seats on the open space, and there were more than 1,000 of them. Many of the seats were already occupied by martial artists. There were also many martial artists on the viewing platform. These martial artists were either martial arts grandmasters or high-ranking members of the empire. As time passed, more and more people gathered on the steps. The empty seats on the empty ground gradually became fewer and fewer. Countless martial artists who participated in the competition sat in their seats. Out of the Sky Cloud sect's 16 martial artists, 9 of them were sitting on the empty seats, while the other 7 were on the audience's steps. Moreover, Li Lingtian and Li Suifeng were also on the audience stage. As the Marquis of North Peace, his father, Li Chongyang, was now Duke of North Peace. His status was even more extraordinary. Li Lingtian was resting on his seat with his eyes closed while Li Xiaoxiao was leaning against him. There were countless court officials on the stairs. Li Lingtian recognized a few of them as he had seen them in the main hall the last time. However, most of them were martial arts grandmasters. They were either the elders of a super family clan or the elders of a sect. There were rules for this step. Each of the top 10 families had 10 seats, and the 4 superforces also had 10 seats. As for the other families and forces, they had to fight for their positions based on their strength. Moreover, on this stage, the officials of the imperial court were also existences at the level of dukes and marquises. There were only 7 seats in Sky Cloud sect. Li Lingtian was supposed to wait downstairs for the competition, but as the Sky Pavilion Master and the Marquis' son, there was no need for him to do so. Not only him, but the genius disciples of other families and sects were also on this. Li Lingtian scanned the steps with his divine perception and was shocked. Martial arts grandmaster powerhouses were everywhere, and there were many familiar faces such as the 4 major sects, the 10 major families, and the leaders who had entered Hidden Dragon Island in the past. As time passed, more and more people gathered on the steps, and there were only a dozen seats left. His Majesty has arrived. A sharp voice was heard. Li Lingtian could not be more familiar with this voice. It was the eunuch in the palace. As the voice fell, a huge beast carriage slowly drove over. The person pulling the carriage was actually a 5th-tier demon beast, and the demon beast emitted a shocking demonic chi. The beast carriage stopped at the bottom of the stairs. A dozen palace maids escorted Nangong Haoming out. Beside Nangong Haoming was a middle-aged woman in her 30s. The woman looked familiar. Li Lingtian recalled that the middle-aged woman was the Empress, Nangong Mingyue's mother. After Nangong Haoming and the Empress got off the carriage, 2 young men got on the carriage. They were the first Prince Nangong Jinghao and the second Prince Nangong Jinglin. Long live the Emperor! In the square, all the martial artists stood up and bowed. Although the strong were respected, the Emperor of Sky Dragon Empire could be supported by the 4 great sects. The courtiers and some martial artists on the steps also stood up and bowed. Only a few martial arts grandmasters cupped their fists lightly. Martial arts grandmasters were grandmasters, so naturally, they would not bow to an emperor. It's the once-in-a-decade prodigy roll competition again. This is to test the progress and achievements of Sky Dragon Empire's disciples. You are all the future of Sky Dragon Empire. I'm just watching the battle, judging and presiding. The 4 sects and the 10 families will do it for me. Nangong Hao knew his limits. Although he was the emperor, he couldn't make so many talented disciples submit to him. He could only let a few super sects and families take charge. After he finished speaking, the representatives of Sky Cloud sect, Green Jade sect, Misty Pavilion, Bright sect, Wen family, Yang family, Zhu family, Tang family, and other powerful families stood up. These representatives were all martial arts grandmasters. They represented their families and sects. They were also the judges and supervisors for this time. There were a total of 4 major sects and 10 great clans. There was also a martial arts grandmaster from the imperial palace. 15 martial arts grandmasters were judges to ensure the fairness of the competition. In fact, there were tens of thousands of pairs of eyes staring at such a genius competition. No one dared to cheat because it was a competition between a martial king and a martial arts grandmaster. The winner could be seen at a glance. Naturally, they had no chance to cheat. The top 10 genius disciples of the Green Jade sect. Misty Pavilion's top 10 genius disciples. The top 10 genius disciples of the Haoming sect. Sky Cloud sect's top 10 genius disciples. The Yang family's top 10 genius disciples. The top 10 genius disciples of the Wen family. Next were the participating families and sects. All the participating families and sects would appear at the side. The disciples of the families or sects whose names were called would walk onto the stage. Chapter 113, Chapter 113, Peerless Liu Yi. Chapter 113, Peerless Liu Yi. Half an hour passed, and all the martial artists walked up the steps. There were more than 900 people competing this time, and they were all martial arts grandmasters and martial kings. However, there were more than 100 martial artists missing on the steps because these martial artists were all on the audience steps. They were the true super experts. Disciples who walked onto the arena would receive a plate with a number on it. Moreover, the moment they entered the arena, a crystal kept flashing. As long as one was over 50 years old, a clear cry would be emitted. This was also to ensure the fairness of the competition. Disciples over 50 years old would lose their qualifications to compete. Li Lingtian saw a familiar figure. It was Liu Yi from Misty Pavilion. She had entered Hidden Dragon Island previously. He did not expect that he had also reached the peak Tier 9 warrior spirit realm. Furthermore, he had also become a candidate for this competition. He was one of the few warrior spirit disciples in the competition. The rules of the competition are that the competition will last for 5 days. The first 3 days will be the elimination rounds, leaving only the last 20. On the 4th day, the last 10 will remain. On the last day, the geniuses of the last prodigy role will compete with the top 10 for the prodigy role. The host of the competition was a martial arts grandmaster from the palace, Bai Ping. He was a rank 7 martial arts grandmaster and was extremely powerful. Although his voice was calm, his voice was transmitted to everyone's ears through the public announcement stone in the square. Number 1, Han Ziming of the Green Jade sect, and number 938, Yun Lai of the Qinghai sect. After Bai Ping explained all the rules, the competition began. It was always the first number against the last number. This was also the earliest way to avoid the disciples of their own sects from colliding. This rule was also very reasonable. All the martial artists had already left the arena. A shadow appeared on the tall stage in an instant, floating lightly on the steps. Han Ziming of the Green Jade sect. Han Ziming said coldly as he hovered above the arena. He was number 1 and was a Tier 3 martial arts grandmaster. His entire body emitted a shocking martial arts grandmaster aura. There was an unreasonable rule in the competition. The strongest family and sect would be at the front, and the weaker family and sect would be at the back. The strongest against the weakest. This was also a cruel competition. Although no one was convinced, this was a world where the strong were respected. Moreover, in the end, there were only 10 spots. Sooner or later, they would meet. Qinghai sect's Yun Lai won admit defeat. Yun Lai flew onto the arena with an extremely ugly expression on his face. The other party was a rank 3 martial arts grandmaster while he was only a rank 2 martial king. Wasn't this courting death? There was nothing embarrassing about admitting defeat like this. On the contrary, it was because his free and easy manner made people admire him. There's nothing interesting to see in the previous battles because there's no chance of a super genius fighting against the weakest. That's right. A martial arts grandmaster against a martial king is like an elephant crushing an ant. In the elimination round, it's better to watch in the middle because the strength in the middle is almost the same. This is also the most tragic. However, there are a few people this time who are very hopeful. You mean Li Lingtian and the super geniuses from the 4 sects and the 10 great families? Yes, I am. On the square, there was no interest in watching the previous matches. Basically, they all admitted defeat. In 10 minutes, there were already more than 20 martial artists who admitted defeat automatically. Misty Pavilion's 29th, Liu Yi. South Yu Sect's 911th, Zhu Tian. Li Lingtian was not interested in these competitions at all. A martial arts grandmaster against a martial king would basically not compete. It was just a formality. However, at this moment, he opened his eyes. He did not know what the Misty Pavilion was thinking about when a Tier 9 warrior spirit came to participate in Liu Yi's competition. Besides, he also wanted to see Liu Yi's strength. Liu Yi of the Misty Pavilion. Liu Yi's petite and delicate body floated onto the stage. Her light clothes fluttered in the wind, making her look like a fairy who had descended from the heavens. Her entire body was emitting an icy cold aura. She was like an ice mountain fairy. Her eyes were not looking at the other party, but at the long sword in her hand. Goddess. So this is the #1 beauty of the Misty Pavilion. As expected, he's not inferior to the eldest princess. The eldest princess and her each have their own merits. He's only a Tier 9 warrior spirit. Failure is inevitable. Liu Yi's appearance immediately caused the entire square to boil. The beauty effect was the most eye-catching no matter which world it was. South Yu Sect's Zhu Tian, junior sister, should just admit defeat. Zhu Tian felt hopeless when he saw the warriors in front of him admit defeat. He did not expect his opponent to be a weak girl, and a Tier 9 warrior spirit at that. He was a Tier 4 warrior king, so defeating a Tier 9 warrior spirit would be a piece of cake for him. However, he did not want the warriors below the stage to attack him at this moment, so he acted like a gentleman. Get down. He didn't get a good impression from the beauty, but he got a cold sneer. This was a slap in the face. Just as he was thinking about how to defeat the beauty in front of him with ease, he suddenly felt a shocking sword intent bombarding him. The sword intent completely enveloped him. Immediately, dozens of sword lights tore through the space and smashed fiercely at him. Defend. Rumble. He was extremely shocked. Was this still a warrior spirit disciple? Such a powerful attack. Helpless, he used his strongest defense. However, in front of the sword light, his defense was like paper. It instantly shattered and he was ruthlessly knocked down from the stage. Alright. The #1 beauty of the Misty Pavilion is indeed powerful. She's beautiful and powerful. This is the perfect goddess. If you can take a look at me, it's worth it even if you die. The audience burst out in shock. A Tier 9 warrior spirit beauty had defeated a Tier 4 warrior king with one strike. She was beautiful and lovable, and she was not just a pretty face. Liu Yi wins. Bai Ping announced loudly. As long as there were no accidents, he could directly announce the winner and loser. Unless there were some difficult things to decide, he would let the 15 judges decide. There was no smile on Liu Yi's perfect little face, as if there was nothing in this world that was worth her attention. Even if she defeated a martial king with one strike, she did not show any emotion. However, when she felt a pair of eyes on her, she raised her head and looked into their eyes. Her heart instantly trembled. In her line of sight, a young man in white was staring at her with a faint smile. She was very familiar with this young man. Li Lingtian from Sky Cloud Sect had once saved her life. He did not expect to meet the young man at this place. Furthermore, he was standing on the stairs. He then noticed some of the dukes and marquises around Li Lingtian and knew about Li Lingtian's family background. He nodded gently in Li Lingtian's direction with a smile on his face before he left the arena. Her smile caused countless geniuses in the plaza to fall for her. They didn't know why this beauty was smiling. If someone knew that this beauty was smiling at a youth, who knew how many genius disciples would be heartbroken. Chapter 114, Stunning Everyone, 1. Chapter 114, Stunning Everyone, 1. Next was Sky Cloud Sect's super genius. Just like before, the few martial arts grandmasters did not even have to compete before the opponent admitted defeat. Even if a few Martial King's disciples relied on their powerful strength and weapon skills to defeat their opponents in one strike, they would still be able to defeat them. Sky Cloud Sect's number 40 Li Lingtian, White Cloud Gate's number 898 Qingyun. Bai Ping shouted loudly. When this voice sounded, the entire square immediately fell silent. Even the countless super experts on the steps were stunned. Li Lingtian, the heir of the Northern Marquis residence. He killed 24 rank 3 Martial Kings with one move and crippled Yang Haozong, a peak rank 9 Martial King, with one move? Could it be Li Lingtian from Pingbei Marquis residence? Young Noble Lingtian, Young Noble Lingtian, Young Noble Lingtian, Young Noble Lingtian, Young Noble Lingtian. There was a brief silence before the square erupted into discussions and exclamations. Li Lingtian's reputation had been growing recently and they did not expect him to participate in this competition. Following that, countless genius disciples who admired Li Lingtian and some young ladies were extremely excited. In an instant, young Master Lingtian's popularity reached its peak. Even countless super geniuses were jealous. The 10 great clans and the 3 great sects were also curious about how this young noble Lingtian was so popular. Even the 6 great young masters of Sky Dragon Empire did not have such popularity. Only Sky Cloud Sect and a few people knew that this young master Lingtian was Li Lingtian from Marquis Pingbei's residence. Could it be him? Liu Yi was shocked when she heard the cheers in the square. Could this young master Ling really be Li Lingtian? Big brother Lingtian's popularity is really high. Tang Zimeng had an excited smile on her face, and she was extremely happy. Tian'er's reputation isn't small, Qin Susu said happily beside Li Suifeng. She was satisfied with having such a son. If we have enough time, Sky Cloud Sect will also have a figure like the 6 great young masters. Liu Nantian was shocked. He had heard about Li Lingtian from the sect leader before he came. He did not expect Li Lingtian to become so popular in such a short period of time. After a long time, Li Lingtian was nowhere to be seen in the arena. There was only a 40-year-old middle-aged man who was a Tier 5 warrior king. Instantly, all the voices fell silent. Countless young girls and genius disciples who admired Li Lingtian were stunned. Could this middle-aged man be Li Lingtian? Looking at the appearance of this middle-aged man, he was even older than Marquis Pingbei, so he naturally couldn't be Marquis Pingbei Estate's young noble Lingtian. At this moment, a dragon's roar sounded. At the same time, a shocking cold air enveloped the entire arena. A young man dressed in white flew over at an extremely fast speed. He couldn't see his appearance clearly, but he was sure that it was a white-robed youth. The white-robed youth appeared in the air above the arena. When he was in the air, he punched the arena fiercely. The arena had completely turned into a glacier. The Tier 5 Martial King from the glacier had turned into an ice sculpture, and his face was filled with fear. Ah! This is young noble Lingtian. It really is young noble Lingtian. It was this attack that killed 24 Tier 3 Martial Kings outside the city gate. What a powerful and heaven-defying ice skill. I've finally seen young noble Lingtian in person. Crash. With a loud explosion, the glacier shattered into pieces. Before the Tier 5 Martial King, Qingyun, had the chance to make a move, he was thrown off the stage. The glacier disappeared and Li Lingtian stood proudly on the arena. He was a handsome young man. His body exuded the aura of a powerhouse, completely inconsistent with his age. Immediately, all the martial artists were stunned. Li Lingtian wins. Bai Ping was startled awake. He did not expect that a dignified martial arts grandmaster like him would be shocked by a warrior spirit disciple. This warrior spirit disciple's ice-type martial soul was truly terrifying. With just one strike, a glacier was formed. It was almost instantaneous, and there was no time for him to circulate his martial arts. Only when one's martial soul reached the extreme would one have such ability. He had never thought that a youth could have such strength. This youth's cultivation was only a warrior spirit, but his strength had reached an unimaginable level. Even if he was attacked by this glacier, he would have very little chance to react. Although he would not lose, he was still afraid to easily defeat this youth. Young noble Ling Tian, young noble Ling Tian, young noble Ling Tian, young noble Ling Tian, I love you. Young noble Ling Tian, one like you. Young noble Ling Tian is the most carefree. Countless young men and women cried out in surprise. Their excited looks made countless super geniuses envious and jealous. Clean and neat, elegant and unrestrained, with deep strength. With a faint smile on his face, Li Lingtian nodded to his surroundings before he walked down the arena and strolled back up the steps. What a beautiful attack. No one below the martial arts grandmaster is his match. A 16-year-old Tier 9 warrior spirit with a terrifying ice-type martial soul. Sky Cloud sect has produced a heaven-defying monster. On the stairs, the 10 families and the other 3 families congratulated Liu Nantian of Sky Cloud sect with envy. By the time Li Lingtian returned to the stairs, Tang Zimeng was already waiting at her seat. There were 5 seats in Marquis Pingbei's residence and 2 of them were still vacant. Tang Zimeng had a happy smile on her face. When Li Lingtian returned, she went up to him and held his arm with her little hand. She leaned her head on Li Lingtian's shoulder and looked extremely happy. In front of tens of thousands of pairs of eyes, she was not shy at all. On the contrary, she was even happier because she wanted everyone to know that she was Li Lingtian's fiancé. Big brother Lingtian, that move just now was so beautiful and too cool. Tang Zimeng said happily as she sat down and leaned against Li Lingtian. He's just a martial king. Your brother Lingtian's goal is to be number 1 on the prodigy roll. Li Lingtian said with a smile as he gently caressed Tang Zimeng's face. He then took out a few spirit fruits and enjoyed them while watching the competition below. Li Suifeng and his wife were also surrounded by a pile of spiritual fruits, which made them extremely envious. Li Lingtian was not interested in the other warriors' matches, but he had another match to attend today, so he could only wait here. There were countless gazes on him at all times. There were gazes of admiration, gazes of envy, and gazes of jealousy. Is Uncle Tang over there? Li Lingtian chatted with Tang Zimeng for a while before he suddenly thought of something. He had been back for quite some time now, yet he had not paid his future father-in-law a visit. It was rather rude of him to do so. Yes, father and mother are over there. Tang Zimeng nodded and did not care at all. It was fine as long as brother Lingtian was by her side. How rude. 1 foot 11 inches go over and say hello. Li Lingtian smiled wryly. When he saw Li Suifeng and Qin Susu's gaze, he felt awkward too. He then pulled Tang Zimeng toward the Tang family's table. Lingtian greets uncle and auntie. When Li Lingtian arrived in front of Tang Zicheng and the others, he regretted his decision. Why did he come all the way here? Was he just looking for trouble? Greetings, Sister Blue Moon. He had never expected Tang Qingyu to be here. Wasn't Tang Qingyu in Sky Cloud sect? Why did she come back? Chapter 115, Vermilion Fruit. Chapter 115, Vermilion Fruit. Ever since he went to look for Tang Zimeng and met Tang Qingyu, he did not dare to see her anymore. Tian you don't have to be so distant in front of uncle. Come and sit here. Tang Zicheng also looked happy. He was also very envious that the Li family had such a heaven-defying monster. Then, when he thought that this monster would be his future son-in-law, he was even happier. After witnessing Li Lingtian's abilities and the rumors about him, they were extremely pleased with the young man. The couple was still talking about Li Lingtian just now. Then, he pointed at the seat beside him and gestured for Li Lingtian to sit next to him. What? Don't tell me I'll eat you. Li Lingtian was in a dilemma. There was an empty seat beside Tang Zimeng's mother, but he could not sit there. On the other hand, there was an empty seat beside Tang Zicheng, but Tang Qingyu was next to it. Tang Qingyu smiled when she saw Li Lingtian's expression and thought of how he had fled a while ago. No, no. Li Lingtian finally realized that there were times when he was afraid of people. He was not afraid of anything. He was a martial arts grandmaster or martial king, but he was a little afraid of Tang Qingyu. After saying that, she quickly calmed herself down and sat in the seat between Tang Zicheng and Tang Qingyu. Tang Zimeng sat next to her mother's blue screen and looked at brother Ling Tian in confusion. Tang Zicheng and Lan Ping could see the awkwardness between Li Lingtian and Tang Qingyu. They did not know why the young man was avoiding Tang Qingyu. Tang Qingyu and Tang Zimeng were their precious children. Tang Zimeng and Li Lingtian had been engaged to each other since they were young and their relationship was very good. Tang Qingyu's wedding was not held in Green Island. This was a regret for the couple, but some things were beyond their control. Uncle, auntie, Li Lingtian did not pay his respects when he returned a while ago. Please forgive him. Li Lingtian quickly tried to find a topic to avoid awkwardness again. However, even though he was speaking, he felt awkward. This sister beside him had really caused him a lot of trouble. He was traumatized. Tian, don't be so formal in front of uncle and auntie. A son-in-law is half a son, it's not good to be so formal. Lan Ping was the first to speak. She was extremely satisfied with this future female cultivator. The Tang family and the Li family, the Qin family and the Lan family, these four families had always had a good relationship. Otherwise, they would not have married. Moreover, only the four clans could survive in Sky Dragon Empire. Otherwise, the status of the four clans would have gone downhill long ago. Oh right, auntie, Tian went to Hidden Dragon Island last time and got some fruits. Auntie will definitely like these fruits. Li Lingtian took out some spirit fruits and a vermilion fruit. This vermilion fruit was also 500 years old and had the effect of retaining one's youth. Vermilion fruit. 500-year-old vermilion fruit. Lan Ping was overjoyed when he saw the vermilion fruit in Li Lingtian's hand. The Tang family did not lack anything, but they had seen a 500-year-old vermilion fruit before. Moreover, to beautiful women, beauty was something they were most interested in. When he saw this vermilion fruit, he couldn't help but reach out and take it as if he had seen a treasure. Tang Zicheng shook his head helplessly when he saw his wife's expression. Women would go crazy when they saw something that could make them look beautiful. Tang Qingyu was also stunned. She didn't expect this kid to have such a treasure. She was envious. If he had such a fruit when he was 18, he would be able to retain his youth and look like this forever. Li Lingtian and Tang Zicheng exchanged a glance, revealing a friendly look between men. They were speechless when they saw a woman doing this for her looks. However, when he turned around, he was stunned to see a fair hand reaching out in front of him. Who else could this hand be but Tang Qingyu's? Why didn't she think of her sister? She should be called her sister-in-law. Tang Qingyu did not say anything, but she smiled. The smug look in her eyes almost made Li Lingtian break down. Sister Qingyu naturally has it. A beautiful girl like Sister Qingyu naturally needs to stay young forever. Li Lingtian took out a 500-year-old vermilion fruit from the divine dragon ring and handed it to Tang Qingyu. She then retracted her hand. Li Lingtian and Tang Zicheng were having a good chat while Tang Zimeng and her two daughters listened to their conversation with a faint smile on their faces. However, Li Lingtian did not dare to look at Tang Qingyu. Big brother Lingtian, are you afraid of big sister? Even though Tang Zimeng was only 16 years old, she was not stupid. She saw that Li Lingtian had not dared to look at her sister, so there must be something going on between them. It was just like how brother Lingtian had gone after the eldest princess in Sky Cloud sect. I'm not afraid. Why would I be afraid of her? Li Lingtian kept shaking his head in guilt. Even Tang Zicheng and his wife could tell that Li Lingtian was feeling guilty, let alone trying to hide it from Tang Zimeng. Tang Zicheng and his wife immediately felt uneasy. If Li Lingtian and Blue Moon were somehow related, things would be troublesome. They were not afraid of Li Lingtian and Tang Zimeng's relationship because it was normal to have multiple wives in this world. However, they could not decide on Tang Qingyu's marriage. Aren't you afraid? Why did you run away that day? Li Lingtian was rendered speechless. He could only smile bitterly as he sat in his seat without saying a word. He did not expect Tang Qingyu to say it out loud. Tang Zicheng, his wife, and Tang Zimeng looked at Li Lingtian before shifting their gaze to Tang Qingyu. Father, mother, Meng Meng. The last time at Sky Cloud Sect, brother Ling Tian went to look for Meng Meng, but Meng Meng had already returned. I was joking at that time. Tang Qingyu transmitted her voice and recounted what happened at Sky Cloud Sect. Although Li Lingtian could not hear it, he could tell from the smiles on Tang Zicheng, and Tang Zimeng's faces that Tang Qingyu had told him about her embarrassing situation. Big brother Ling Tian, I didn't expect you to be so afraid of my big sister. It's a pity that my big sister already has a fiancé. Hehe, otherwise, you wouldn't dare to bully me in the future. Tang Zimeng burst into laughter when she heard that. Li Lingtian could only remain speechless and embarrassed. He also understood what Tang Zimeng meant. If his sister was not married, she would not mind her sister marrying him. When he thought of the two beautiful sisters marrying him, his blood boiled, but he immediately extinguished the thought. He could choose not to interfere with Tang Qingyue's marriage. Even in Eastern Spirit Azure continent, not many people would dare to interfere, let alone a warrior spirit disciple like him. Little girl, what did you say? Tang Qingyu blushed and glared at Tang Zimeng. The couple felt happy and harmonious. Tang Zicheng and his wife wanted to laugh, but as elders, they had to pay attention to their image. Chapter 116, Emperor-grade Spirit Tool. Chapter 116, Emperor-grade Spirit Tool. He did not expect that this heaven-defying monster would actually have someone he was afraid of. They understood that this was not fear but a form of etiquette, a gentleman's etiquette. This proved that Li Lingtian was not a fickle youth. Otherwise, he would not be afraid of Tang Qingyu. Time passed very quickly. The first round of the competition had ended, and the ordinary martial artists had been eliminated. Originally, there were 938 martial artists participating in the competition, but now there were only 479 martial artists left. Now, half of the 479 martial artists would be eliminated. After the second round, there would be no more competition for today. The second round of the competition begins. Number 1, Han Ziming. Number 671, Zhao Ning. Bai Ping shouted loudly. Every time the martial artists at the front competed, there was basically nothing to watch because the martial artists at the front were the most powerful, and the ones at the back were the worst. Similarly, just like the first round of the competition, the first 4 sects basically did not eliminate anyone, and the top 10 families did not eliminate many. Soon, it was Li Lingtian's turn to compete. Li Lingtian's appearance brought cheers to the square. In the first round, he defeated a Tier 5 Martial King with 1 strike. In the second round, he also defeated a Tier 5 Martial King with 1 Ice Soul Divine Fist. It was easy. After the second round, Li Lingtian, Li Suifeng, and his wife excused themselves. Tang Zimeng and Tang Qingyu, Li Xiaoxiao and Qingping, as well as Tang Qingyue's maid, Xiao Lingling, also left the stairs. Li Lingtian's opponent was not a warrior on the spot but a powerhouse from the previous prodigy role. The competition here was only to fight for a spot in the last prodigy role battle. Moreover, the 4 great sects and the 10 great families each had a super genius who had not made a move. Since they would only fight on the 4th day, Li Lingtian would not be in the mood to pay attention to them if they did not fight. As they left the plaza, countless warriors greeted Li Lingtian, who nodded in return. It took Li Lingtian and the others a full 10 minutes to leave the plaza. Big brother Lingtian, where are we going to play? Tang Zimeng held onto Li Lingtian's arm as she raised her head and asked in a coquettish voice. The competition this time had nothing to do with her. She was only concerned about Li Lingtian's victory and her being together with him. I heard that there's a newly opened market in the Eastern District. Let's go there and see if there's anything good there. Sister Blue Moon, do you want to go? Li Lingtian realized that there was nothing he could do now. With Tang Zimeng by his side, it was impossible for him to do anything even if he wanted to. After saying that, he looked at Tang Qingyu. Tang Qingyu followed him out. He had to ask about the market with Tang Zimeng. Of course, I'm going. Are you trying to trick my sister? Tang Qingyu was stunned. This kid actually treated her as an outsider. She was slightly angry. Lure Meng Meng away. Meng Meng is my fiancé. Li Lingtian was stunned. This was an excuse, a blatant excuse. Tang Zimeng was his fiancé, why would he lie to her? He cursed himself in his heart. TM such a b *tch. Why did one ask Tang Qingyu for no reason? Now that I have Tang Qingyu by my side, will I still be natural? However, he did not show any emotion on his face. He then brought Tang Zimeng and her sister towards the east side of the city. It was still early, and they could not enjoy the scenery outside by taking the beast carriage. Li Xiaoxiao and the other two followed behind him, chatting and laughing. They understood what was going on when they saw Li Lingtian's unnatural expression. Tang Zimeng held Li Lingtian's hand while Tang Qingyu stood on his other side. Among the 5 beauties, Li Lingtian was the only young man who was enviable. He knew his own suffering, but Li Lingtian felt both bitterness and sweetness in his heart. It was only 100 miles from the square to the city square in the eastern part of the city. They were all warriors, and the 3 maids were tier 5 warriors and above. This distance was nothing. After an hour, they finally arrived at the market called Tianming. The market occupied a large area and there were countless martial artists trading inside. In the past, he had always regarded the market as very mysterious. However, after he had been to the market a few times, he had a very appropriate description of the market. That was, the market was just like the wet market. It was even noisier and more chaotic than the wet market. There were items placed by warriors everywhere. They used a piece of beast skin to place the items they wanted to sell on top of the beast skin. It was the same everywhere. When Li Lingtian and the others arrived, they were all smiling with malicious eyes. A young man accompanied by several beautiful girls, wouldn't that make people go crazy? Young master, this is 100-year-old flavescent ginseng. It only costs 300 spirit stones. Take a look and see if you need anything. Miss, this is an accessory for a supreme-grade spirit weapon. It's very cheap. Countless warriors were promoting their items but Li Lingtian and the others only passed by them in a flash. They did not even notice anything. The few of them strolled around for a full half an hour. They had explored the entire market, but there was nothing good. Although there were some rare herbs, spirit weapons, and even profound weapons, Li Lingtian was not interested in any of them. At that moment, Li Lingtian noticed that a group of people were discussing animatedly. This is a monarch-level spirit weapon. The price is 200,000. A loud voice was heard and Li Lingtian was stunned. It was an imperial spiritual weapon. Wasn't this nonsense? An imperial level was an imperial level. How could there be an imperial level spirit weapon? He was extremely curious. If there really was a spirit weapon of the imperial level, then it would be a huge hit. A spirit weapon of the imperial level was equivalent to a profound weapon and was suitable for martial artists and martial spirits to use. This was because very few warriors and warrior spirits used profound armaments. The main reason was that their cultivation was not high enough to control profound armaments. If there was a monarch-level spiritual weapon, it would be the same as a warrior using a profound armament. Upon hearing the voice, Li Lingtian strolled forward while Tang Qingyu and the others followed suit. Although they were rich young ladies, they rarely came out to play. Naturally, they were very curious. Now that there was such an opportunity, they naturally wouldn't miss it. What is it? A monarch-grade spirit weapon? That's impossible, right? Even if there's a monarch-grade spirit weapon, it wouldn't be worth 200,000. Those who can take out 200,000 are already warrior spirits and martial kings. Who would still use a spirit weapon? Don't cheat people anymore. No one wants you to be this weapon. Some warriors were discussing animatedly. Indeed, even if a martial king expert had money, they would not buy a spirit weapon. They would only buy profound armaments to strengthen themselves. What do you know? You can buy this emperor-grade spirit weapon for your disciples to use. The loud voice sounded again. There was not much rebuttal to the discussions of the other martial artists because what these martial artists said was the truth. Let me see. Li Lingtian walked up to the warriors and saw some herbs and weapons on the ground. Most of them were materials for refining. Chapter 117, Young Master Tianmu. Chapter 117, Young Master Tianmu. There was also a green longsword. The green longsword was emitting a dense spirit weapon. This spirit weapon had reached the peak of peerless grade. No wonder it was called an emperor-grade spirit weapon. "Sir, please take a look." The owner of the longsword was a middle-aged man in his 40s. His entire body emitted a unique aura that was somewhat similar to this longsword. Li Lingtian was shocked. To be able to refine an imperial spirit weapon was truly heaven-defying. He was an alchemist, so he had an understanding of his own aura and medicinal pills. It was not difficult to imagine that this spirit weapon longsword was refined by this middle-aged man. The middle-aged man was pleased to see that someone was interested in the longsword. However, he could not help but feel disappointed when he saw that Li Lingtian was only a warrior spirit. How many spirit stones? One want it. Li Lingtian used his divine consciousness to wipe the aura from the sword. He was extremely satisfied with the quality of the sword. It was definitely an imperial spiritual weapon. He did not need a spiritual weapon, but Tang Ziming could use it. With Tang Ziming's cultivation, she could use this spiritual weapon for a period of time. 200,000 low-grade spirit stones. The middle-aged man had a smile on his face. He did not know if this youth would take out 200,000 yuan. If he had 200,000 yuan, he could buy some good materials and refine better spirit weapons. He might even be able to refine profound-level weapons. All right, deal. Li Lingtian nodded. It was worth it to buy a spiritual weapon for 200,000. The main point was that this spiritual weapon was for Tang Ziming, so it was worth it no matter how many spiritual stones it cost. Slow down. This young master wants this spirit tool. At this moment, a discordant voice sounded. Everyone looked at the owner of the voice and saw an elegant young man walking over. The young man looked 24 or 25 years old, and he had a smile on his face. He looked extremely carefree, and he was definitely an existence that could charm thousands of women in the world. However, Li Lingtian was delighted to see that the girls around him did not show any sign of emotion, as if they had just seen a stranger on the roadside. No man wanted to see the woman beside him attracted to another man. He was a man, so naturally, it was the same. Tang Qingyu, his fiancée, and even the three maids did not look at the young man. However, the young man in blue was attracted by Tang Qingyu and Tang Ziming's beauty. He walked up with a confident smile on his face. "Isn't this Blue Moon? Is this Sister Tang Ziming?" The young man acted as if he was familiar with them as he stared at Tang Qingyu and Tang Ziming, completely ignoring Li Lingtian. "You didn't call Blue Moon by her name. I'm not your sister." Tang Qingyu and Tang Ziming spoke at the same time, causing the young man to feel awkward. He didn't expect two peerless beauties to reject him. This was the first time a girl had rejected him. "Young Master Tianmu. It's Young Master Tianmu. Young Master Tianmu of the 6 Great Young Masters." Someone recognized this young man. Everyone exclaimed in surprise. This young man was one of the 6 young masters on the prodigy roll. Everyone was fooled by the appearance of Young Master Tianmu. Young Master Tianmu had been famous for more than 10 years. He was a rank 5 martial arts grandmaster and was almost 40 years old. However, his cultivation was deep and he became a martial arts grandmaster at the age of 25 or 26. Therefore, his appearance was fixed at the age of 25 or 26. This young master wants this spirit tool. Does Blue Moon want it, or does Sister Tang Ziming want it? Young Master Tianmu's skin was even thicker than his. He actually had the cheek to call Tang Ziming his sister. "This spirit weapon was bought by my big brother Ling Tian first. I'll say it again, don't try to curry favor here." Tang Ziming was direct and did not give young Master Tianmu any face at all. Her brother Ling Tian was the one who bid first, so there was no need for young Master Tianmu to fawn over her. This must be the heir of Marquis Pingbei, who has become famous recently. I want this spirit weapon. This young master can give you 3 times the price. You can earn 400,000 with just a resell. Isn't that a good thing? Young Master Tianmu then turned to look at Li Lingtian. However, when he saw Tang Ziming's little hand holding Li Lingtian's arm, a murderous intent surged in his heart. The woman he had set his eyes on was actually holding another young man. However, he still looked like a modest gentleman and raised the price. This way, he could show off his strength and gain the favor of the beauty. He would not let go of the opportunity to insult the youth in front of him. Young Master Tianmu, right? You are young Master Tianmu. Li Lingtian looked surprised and exaggerated as if he had just met his idol. Young Master Tianmu felt extremely pleased. The other cultivators all had looks of disdain on their faces. Seeing young Master Tianmu, even his own girl was being hit on by someone else, yet he still looked so worshipful. Tang Qingyu was stunned as well. She did not know what was going on. Li Lingtian did not have to do this, did he? Only Tang Ziming, Qingping, and Li Xiaoxiao knew that Li Lingtian was putting on an act. The 3 ladies were all excited as they cooperated with Li Lingtian's act. They wanted to see the expression on young Master Tianmu's face. No one in Sky Dragon City would dare to make a move. Furthermore, Li Lingtian's strength was extremely profound and they were full of confidence in him. That's right, this young master is young Master Tianmu. It's good that you know this young master. And it's still 3 times the price. One want this spiritual weapon. Young Master Tianmu had an arrogant look on his face. He then glanced at Tang Qingyu and Tang Ziming as if he was showing off. It's really young Master Tianmu. You mother f***ka. I really don't believe that the 6 young masters are so trash. If they were all like you, I would be so f***ing unlucky to have met such trash like you. What 6 great young masters? You're f***ing insulting the reputation of the 6 great young masters. Look at yourself. You're like a pig's head. I thought you were some good bird. 1 foot 11 inches give you 10 times the spirit stones. I'll smash your mother to death. Get out of here and don't insult my sight. At first, Li Lingtian was calm as if he was in awe. Young Master Tianmu's face was still smug, but as he listened to the rest, his face turned green and purple. Everyone was stunned. So this young man was toying with young Master Tianmu. He even dared to curse young Master Tianmu. If young Master Tianmu was trash, then who in this world wasn't trash? Silence, silence. Everyone in the market knew about what had happened, but they were shocked by Li Lingtian's words. Unforgivable. You're courting death. How dare you insult me? 1 foot 11 inches f***ing tear you apart. Young Master Tianmu's expression changed drastically. So this young man had been insulting him all this while. He actually treated the insult as someone else's worship of him. How f***ing embarrassing. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.